Chapter 30-32. Brother Long, why are you looking for me so anxiously? What's the matter? Kang Lin was very curious as to why Longao was looking for her. He was so anxious. Sister Lin, have you heard of the Chaos Mountain Range? Why are you suddenly asking about the Chaos Mountain Range? He was startled. Looking at Sister Lin's expression, Longao knew that Kang Lin definitely knew where the Chaos Mountain Range was. It's an emergency. Brother Long, although I don't know why you're asking about the Chaos Mountain Range, I want to tell you that no matter what, you shouldn't enter the Chaos Mountain Range. Longao didn't say anything. In order to awaken Xiao Hei's primordial spirit, he had to try whether the chaotic mountain range was a mountain of blades or a sea of flames. Seeing the expression on Long Di's face, Kang Lin already knew something. He sighed deeply. The chaotic mountain range is the #1 divine beast mountain range in the chaotic world. There are countless divine beasts in there. Legend has it that there are even divine beasts above the divine emperor realm. Under normal circumstances, no one is willing to enter there. Actually, Kang Lin said that on purpose. The chaotic mountain range was indeed the largest mountain range of divine beasts in the primal chaos realm. It was also filled with danger. However, it wasn't that no one dared to enter. The chaotic mountain range was boundless. As long as one didn't enter the depths, they could still enter. At every moment, there would be many martial artists entering. As for the chaotic mountain range, it is located in the southeastern region of the first heavenly region. Sister Lin, I need to leave for a few days. Kang Lin seemed to have guessed something and said worriedly, since you want to enter the chaotic mountain range, I will accompany you. He shook his head. Sister Lin, you should stay here. If Shi can't hold it in any longer, you can help the alliance leader. I can go alone. It's a simple matter. I'll be back in less than 3 days. All right, be careful. He left just like that. In order to allow Xiao Hei to awaken his primordial spirit as soon as possible and help Sister Lin eliminate the 9 infants' bloodline, Longao did not dare to hesitate. He immediately got up and left, heading towards the Chaos Mountain Range. The Chaotic Mountain Range was the #1 divine beast mountain range in the primal chaos realm. The Chaos Mountain Range was located in the southeast of the Chaos realm. It was one of the forbidden areas of the first upper heaven region. Although it was called a forbidden area, countless martial artists had entered it. Longao's speed soared to the extreme, and he arrived at the Chaotic Mountain Range on the 2nd day. Boss, I can sense that there's a power calling out to me inside. It should be the cave that I left behind back then. Let's go. Since it was confirmed, Longao did not stay any longer. He took a step forward and headed towards the mountain range. There was no need to think about it. The cave that Blackie had set up was definitely in the deepest part of the chaotic mountain range. It was impossible for it to be in the periphery. It was precisely because of this. Longao headed straight for the depths of the chaotic mountain range. If Kang Lin knew that Longao had headed towards the deepest part of the mountain range right after entering, she would definitely be scared to death. Because according to the rumors, in the depths of the chaotic mountain range, it was very likely that there was a 7th or 8th level divine beast. What kind of concept was that? A level 7 divine beast was equivalent to an ultimate god, not to mention a level 8 divine beast, which was almost on par with an emperor god. Longao didn't care so much. His speed soared to the extreme. Even so, after flying for an hour, he was still in the outer regions. From this, one could imagine just how vast the chaotic mountain range was. He sped up. Boss, wait a minute. What's going on? Longao stopped abruptly. He looked at Blackie curiously. At this time, he should continue on his way. Boss, I want to go alone. Although you have awakened your spirit, your strength hasn't recovered yet. Once you force your way into the depths, I'm afraid you'll encounter trouble. I'm worried about you going alone. If he was afraid, Longao wouldn't have stepped into the chaotic mountain range. Since he was here, he planned to go in with Blackie. Blackie shook his head and said, Brother, don't worry. With my strength and my original body, even if I encounter trouble, I'll be fine. Since I left my cave here, it means that I can come and go freely. On the other hand, you'll be in danger if you go with me. Even if you don't think for yourself, you have to think for your family. Just as Longao was about to say something, Blackie had already rushed out and disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. He was helpless. Longao didn't continue. Since Blackie was afraid of him taking risks, he would wait for him here. In fact, Longao more or less agreed with Blackie's words. Since he chose to leave his cave here, he believed that Blackie must have arranged everything. If it was somewhere else, he wouldn't let Blackie take risks alone. An hour later, Blackie had already returned. Longao was very curious. Did Blackie get what he wanted? If that was really the case, then it would be great. Brother, something bad happened. What's wrong? His heart skipped a beat. Hearing Blackie's words, he had a bad feeling in his heart. He immediately asked, Brother, just as I was about to go to the cave, I suddenly had a bad feeling. It was as if something had locked onto me, so I didn't dare to continue. I see. In the chaotic mountain range, there were powerful divine beasts everywhere. It was reasonable for Blackie to be locked onto by divine beasts. I'll go with you. To be able to make Blackie feel a terrifying lock-on, it was obvious what kind of existence the other party was. However, if he wanted to meet force with force, it was impossible to find the cave. The only way was to let Blackie enter his chaotic dantian first, then hide his aura and sneak into the cave without anyone knowing. After Blackie entered the dantian, Longao immediately rushed forward. His speed was very fast, and his heart was very anxious. Just as Xiao Hei had said, after flying for half an hour, he felt a terrifying aura enveloping him. He was very shocked, because Longao really couldn't figure out, he had already hidden his aura. How did the other party lock onto him? Not only him, even Xiao Hei couldn't escape being locked onto. Looking at the endless void in the distance, Longao was very clear that if he continued to move forward, the other party would definitely attack. Without being sure, Longao didn't want to act rashly. Brother, where did the other party come from? The aura is so terrifying. 9th level divine beast. Blackie was also shocked when he heard his brother's words. Of course, he knew what the so-called 9th level divine beast meant. It was a super existence that was above God Emperor. No wonder it could lock onto him and his brother. If that was the case, it wouldn't be easy for him and his brother to pass through smoothly. Chapter 30-33. Longao felt helpless. A level 9 divine beast was an insurmountable existence for him and Blackie. Especially this level 9 divine beast. Even if he hid his aura, it could still sense it. This way. It wasn't an easy task for him to bring Little Black to their destination. Longao did not act rashly. He had to come up with a foolproof plan. Otherwise, he would go for wool and come home shorn. Boss, why don't we give up temporarily and come back when we have enough strength? Blackie certainly did not want his boss to awaken his primordial spirit and risk his life. If he made the slightest mistake, he would be consigned to eternal damnation. Longao shook his head. Blackie's awakened primordial spirit and the 9-headed snakelet's blood in Sister Lin's body made it impossible for him to give up. Blackie, there is still a way. If it succeeds, not only can you enter the cave, but we can also tame a level 9 divine beast. He was excited just thinking about it. A level 9 divine beast was a super existence above an emperor god. Once the level 9 divine beast was tamed, it would be easy to deal with Shi. Boss, what is it? Xiao Hei was also very excited and asked excitedly. I will burn my primordial spirit. When the time comes, I will forcibly use the refining god tower. Boss, don't joke around. Blackie was shocked to hear his boss's idea. Of course, he knew what his boss meant. Boss, have you ever thought about what we should do if this doesn't work? How could Longao not know about Blackie's worries? It was one thing to know, but it was another to do it. Since things had come to this, it seemed that there was no other way to deal with it. Actually, Longao was not completely confident that he could burn his primordial spirit to deal with an emperor god. If the gains did not make up for the losses, he would not even have the chance to regret it. Nothingness. Everywhere around them was barren, and everything was grey and hazy. Father, what is this place? Yi Dugu looked at the barren surroundings and asked curiously. Ever since his father had awakened his primordial spirit, he seemed to have become a different person. They were no longer father and son. He was more like a servant. That's right, they were slaves. Although he was unwilling to accept it, since things had already come to this, there was nothing else he could do. Yidugu was very scared. He knew his father's personality very well. If he made the slightest mistake, his father would probably kill him directly. There was no suspense. From now on, you will cultivate here. He was overjoyed. If you want to reach my level, you have to listen to me from now on. Would they dare to disobey? Being disobedient meant being killed. Yidugu immediately said impatiently, "Father, I will definitely listen to you." Essence soul sacrifice. Ah! Hearing his father's words, Yidugu was startled. Of course, he knew what it meant to sacrifice one's soul. He really couldn't figure out why his father didn't believe him and wanted him to sacrifice his soul given their relationship. This was simply nonsense. However, even if there were 10,000 displeasure and anger in his heart, Yidugu could only accept it. He knew very well what the consequences would be if he did not accept it. Not daring to have any hesitation, Yidugu sacrificed his soul as quickly as possible. Master God Diviner's meaning was simple. Even if it were his own son, he wouldn't trust him. The best way to do that was to sacrifice his nascent divinity. Even if Yidugu got stronger in the future, he wouldn't have to worry about him betraying him. After the essence soul sacrifice was completed, the godly mathematician found a place and began to forge Yidugu with all his strength. As for himself, he also devoted himself to cultivation. 10,000 years. He only had 10,000 years. If his strength could not recover to its peak after 10,000 years, then the consequences would be obvious. Inside the mysterious cave. This is the place where I cultivated. Before entering reincarnation, I had already made preparations. If we cultivate here, we can get twice the result with half the effort. If I'm not wrong, now not only you and me, but even the others have already begun to cultivate, preparing to deal with the great Tao of chaos after 10,000 years. Yidugu certainly knew about this. Everyone who had awakened their soul, including his father, were all making preparations to deal with what would happen after 10,000 years. If they succeeded, they would be able to successfully prove the great Tao of chaos. Father, forgive me for asking, but why don't we kill Longao? Since they already knew that Longao was also a reincarnated person, then they should kill Longao, so as to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots, and eliminate all future troubles. But what was the result? Whether it was his father or Nangong Yin and the others, it seemed that they had no intention of killing Longao. Was there something fishy? Yidugu was very afraid of Longao, especially now that he knew that Longao was also a reincarnated person. He was even more afraid. For some reason, Yidugu had a bad premonition in his heart, as if everything in the future would be ruined by Longao. The God Diviner sighed helplessly and said, if it was possible, how could Longao have succeeded in reincarnation? Back then, he was a heaven-gifted genius, and was able to create the 9-revolution chaos formula. He had only cultivated it to the peak of the 7th revolution, and we were already no match for him. However, we gradually discovered that it seemed that only Longao could help us prove the great Tao of chaos. Yidugu was completely terrified. He never thought that Longao would be so powerful, and that his father would have such a high evaluation of Longao. Father, what if after 10,000 years, we are unable to kill Longao, and Longao proves the great Tao of chaos by himself? What should we do then? How could the God Diviner not know what Yidugu was worried about? It was exactly what he was worried about. In the past, we might not have been able to do anything. After all, Longao's strength is obvious. But 10,000 years later, we have everything set up, and are just waiting for Longao to enter. Yidugu seemed to have guessed something, and didn't ask any more questions. As long as they could kill Longao, and also have a chance to prove their Tao, then that was the best thing that could happen. Yidugu began to cultivate. As for the God Diviner, he looked around at the immortals' caves and sighed. Fortunately, he had succeeded in reincarnation, and had successfully awakened his nascent divinity. It had been scary, but not dangerous. When he had died, everyone had been afraid. After all, if he couldn't awaken his nascent divinity, then he would disappear from the primal chaos forever. Chapter 30-34. In the vast starry sky. The vast starry sky had been reorganized. The soaring dragon empire was the most powerful force, and there were dozens of starry sky rulers. What kind of concept was that? In a courtyard with an extremely elegant environment. Wang Yuyin, Aoshue, Bai Ling, and Murong Yanga, the four girls missed their loved ones more than the other. Unknowingly, it had been decades since Longao left for the chaotic realm. It was just that their cultivation hadn't broken through yet, so they couldn't enter the chaotic realm through the channel. Sister Yu Yin, at this cultivation speed, it will take us thousands of years to reach the chaotic realm. A few thousand years might not be much to other martial artists, but to them, it was an extremely long time. They wanted to go to the chaotic realm to look for Longao. Aoshue sighed and said helplessly, "Cultivation can't be spoiled by excessive enthusiasm. There's nothing we can do. Don't worry, Brother Ao has to take one step at a time to enter the chaotic realm. If we go now, not only will we not be able to help Brother Ao, we might even drag him down." How could the other three girls not know what Sister Yu Yin meant? The four of them looked at each other and saw the helplessness in each other's eyes. Chaotic realm. First sky region. Chaotic mountain range. For a moment, Longao still couldn't think of a better way to deal with the level 9 divine beast. After thinking about it, he finally chose to give up burning his primordial spirit to increase his strength. Seems like I can only fight. It wasn't a solution to continue like this. Not to mention a day or two, even 1,000 years might not be enough. Swoosh. Longao's figure disappeared instantly. Just as he left, the surrounding aura suddenly began to suppress Longao and froze him on the spot. He was shocked. What kind of divine beast is this? Longao finally knew that the mysterious level 9 divine beast around him wasn't simple. It could freeze him on the spot, and he knew how strong it was. A dragon's roar resounded through the world. Immediately after, a huge dragon rose up and stared at the puny human in front of it. It said coldly, "How dare you trespass into my forbidden area? Human, it seems like you don't want to live anymore." Looking at the colossus in front of him, Longao couldn't help but sigh. 9th level divine beast, ancient golden dragon. No wonder it was so powerful. It turned out that it was the legendary golden ancient dragon. "I have no intention of intruding, but I must pass through this place. Please come with me. Otherwise, I can only kill you." Hearing those words, the primordial golden dragon was taken aback. "Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha." The ancient golden dragon laughed maniacally. His laughter was filled with endless contempt and mockery. He was a grade 9 divine beast while the other party was just a puny god king. To think that he would dare to treat him in such a manner. It was like striking a stone with an egg. Longao snorted coldly. Before the ancient golden dragon could finish laughing, he had already dashed out. "You want to leave?" Before the ancient golden dragon could react, Longao had already disappeared. What in the world was going on? The ancient golden dragon was completely stumped right now. He had not expected that the other party would be able to disappear right under his nose. Was this for real? Even if he were to witness this with his own eyes, it was still something unbelievable. The ancient golden dragon could clearly sense that the other party had not left. Instead, he was hiding within a space god weapon. But the thing that had the ancient golden dragon astounded was that the space god weapon in the hands of the other party was way too heaven revolting. To think that it would be able to avoid being locked on by his aura. "Human. How dare you trespass into my forbidden ground? Even if you have a space god weapon, you can forget about leaving this place alive." Within his chaotic Dantian, "Boss, is the ancient golden dragon really that strong?" "Yes. The chaos world has the dragon race as well. It's just that the dragon race had once perished because of the 9-headed dragon python. As for the ancient golden dragon, it could be considered as one of the stronger races within the dragon race. It's just that they had all perished back then. To think that there would be a golden dragon cub here. Cub? If a cub was already a grade 9 divine beast, how strong would the ancient golden dragon be when it matured? Unbelievable. Boss, are the ancient golden dragons really that strong? Yes, the strongest ancient golden dragon at its peak. Its strength is only slightly weaker than the nine-headed dragon python. So what if they were strong? In the end, they were still destroyed. All that was left was this ancient golden dragon cub. If he could subdue this ancient golden dragon cub and give it to Sister Lin, he wouldn't have to worry about Shersha finding trouble with Sister Lin. However, it was almost impossible to tame this ancient golden dragon cub. After all, he was only a middle-level divine king. Not to mention a grade 9 divine beast, even a grade 6 divine beast would be difficult for him. Seemingly able to guess what his boss was thinking, Blackie thought for a while and said with a smile, "Boss, we can't defeat it with brute force, but we can defeat it with our wits." Blackie nodded in agreement. It was true that one couldn't defeat the ancient golden dragon with brute force. Otherwise, not only would they fail to tame the ancient golden dragon, but they would also be in big trouble. However, it wasn't easy to defeat it with their wits. Longao and Blackie began to think of all kinds of ways to tame the ancient golden dragon. The cub already had a grade 9 strength. Longao was almost certain that when this ancient golden dragon fully matured, it would be hard to imagine how powerful it would be. "Ancient golden dragon, why don't you make a bet with me?" Hearing the sudden voice, the ancient golden dragon was shocked. However, he asked curiously, "You know me?" "Ha ha ha, why wouldn't I know you? Your ancient golden dragon clan has been completely annihilated, leaving only you as a cub." Hearing this, the ancient golden dragon was shocked. The other party actually knew about his clan. He asked in an extremely cold voice, "Who are you? Why do you know about the ancient golden dragon clan? We'll talk about this later. Do you dare to make a bet with me? If you win, I'll surrender and let you do whatever you want with me. If you lose, you'll submit to me. How about that? T, you want me to submit to you? What makes you think you can do that?" The ancient golden dragon's voice was filled with endless mockery. He couldn't figure out what gave the other party such courage. Other than hiding in the spatial artifact, he didn't even have the courage to face him head-on. This was completely the funniest joke in the world. Longao didn't care at all. He said, "The dignified ancient golden dragon clan actually doesn't dare to accept the challenge. Ha ha ha, you're really a disgrace to the ancient golden dragon clan." Chapter 30-35. How could he take it? How do you want to bet? Hearing that the ancient golden dragon had finally taken the bait, Longao was elated. "I'll let you attack me with all your might. If I don't die, I'll take it as your loss. How about that? Ha ha ha, human, you're really arrogant. Alright, I'll bet. I don't believe you. What do you want? Let's make a primordial soul oath. How about that? No problem." Without even thinking, the ancient golden dragon agreed to it. What a joke. Could the other party take a hit from it and not die? Not to mention the ancient golden dragon, it was likely that no one would choose to believe this. It was complete nonsense. It was a level 9 divine beast, which was equivalent to an emperor god. As for the other party, he was just a puny god king. It could kill the other party easily with just a flick of its finger, let alone a full-force attack. In the next second, Longao appeared in front of the ancient golden dragon. Since both of them had made a primordial soul oath, it was impossible for them to go back on their words. Blackie was worried, but he couldn't stop Boss no matter how hard he tried. He could only hope that Boss would be fine. The reason why Longao dared to do so was because he had the indestructible primordial spirit. Especially now that his chaotic elixir field had been formed, even if an emperor god-level divine beast attacked him with all its might, he would not be killed. "Lad, regardless of whether you can take it or not, I admire your courage. However, there's a saying that you humans have to know your limits." Longao smiled and didn't say a word. "Since you're courting death, don't blame me for not showing mercy." The ancient golden dragon gathered all his energy on his right claw. Even a divine beast or martial artist of the same level wouldn't dare to take this hit, let alone a puny god king. Until this moment, the ancient golden dragon still could not figure out just what gave Longao the courage to be so arrogant, so much so that he did not even care about his own life. "Are you ready?" Come on. Cut the crap. The ancient golden dragon, who was initially impressed by Lin Fan, was enraged upon hearing his words. At the same time, the ancient golden dragon let out a terrifying aura. Die. An all-out attack was earth-shattering. A terrifying power followed the momentum and directly struck Longao's body. From the beginning to the end, Longao didn't dodge at all. Otherwise, the Origin Soul Oath would just be a decoration, and it would be completely useless. Are you really not going to dodge? Looking at how its frightening attack had really landed on the other party's body, and how the other party didn't even bother dodging in the slightest, the ancient golden dragon was completely dumbfounded. A bad premonition instantly appeared. Could it be that the other party was really able to withstand his all-out attack? Grass. It was complete nonsense. Not to mention a puny god king, even if it was a god beast or martial artist of the same level, it would be impossible for them to take a hit from him. There was a loud boom. Longao was forcefully attacked. His body flew backward like a kite with a broken string. Puci, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Before Longao had time to revolve the 7th Revolution Primal Chaos mantra, he directly fainted. If it were anyone else, they would have died long ago after taking a hit from the ancient golden dragon. Longao was the only one who didn't die immediately. His origin soul was severely injured. Even if it wasn't destroyed, it wouldn't be able to withstand such a powerful attack. Hence, it started to recover automatically. At the same time, an endless amount of primal chaos energy was released from his primal chaos dantian, wrapping around Longao's entire body. Not dead. He's really not dead. Sensing that the other party was still alive, the ancient golden dragon was completely dumbfounded. He couldn't believe it at all, and his face was filled with shock and disbelief. Was this real? A puny god king martial artist could really withstand his all-out attack. This couldn't be real. He must have been seeing things. The ancient golden dragon unleashed its power and slowly dragged Longao's body to its front. The ancient golden dragon really hoped that Longao would fall here. In that case, it would be considered as the winner of this bet and it wouldn't have to choose to submit. But, what was the result? It had been 2 hours. He had waited for 2 hours, and the other party was still hanging on to his last breath. If he were to strike again, he would be violating the Origin Soul Oath. Taking 10,000 steps back, even without the Origin Soul Oath, he couldn't go back on his words. The ancient Golden Dragon tribe didn't have such a person. In the end, the ancient Golden Dragon confirmed that the other party wasn't truly dead. He sighed deeply and said, "Since you're not dead, then you've won the bet." He felt bitter in his heart. Even if he were to be beaten to death, the ancient golden dragon would never have thought that he would submit to a puny martial king. If this were in the past, he wouldn't even have dared to think about it. Even though I've lost, it depends on whether you're still alive. The ancient golden dragon still had a glimmer of hope. If the other party really didn't wake up forever, then even if he wanted to fulfill his oath, the other party wouldn't have the fortune to enjoy it. At the thought of this, the ancient golden dragon suddenly burst out laughing. Longao entered a state of suspended animation. Even though he had the protection of his indestructible origin soul and the suppression of his primal chaos dantian, Longao was still severely injured due to the difference in their cultivation realms. What kind of power was the ancient golden dragon's all-out attack? It could destroy the heavens and earth. Time flowed by. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. Longao's origin soul began to slowly recover. If it weren't for the protection of the ancient golden dragon, it would be unknown what kind of situation Longao would be in right now. 3 years later, Longao suddenly opened his eyes. Looking at the ancient golden dragon before him, he said with a smile, "You've lost. I'm not dead." Truly, what one feared most would happen. For the past 3 years, the ancient golden dragon had been afraid that the other party would wake up. Yet, he didn't expect that the other party would wake up in the end. Feeling helpless, he nodded his head and said, "A bet is a bet. Even though I've submitted to you, you can forget about ordering me to do anything." He wasn't surprised at all. After all, the ancient golden dragon was arrogant. This time, it was obvious that he had played a trick. Otherwise, How could the ancient golden dragon have chosen to submit to him? How should I address you? Gu Feng. Brother Gu, I won't order you around casually. Later on, I'll let you follow a close female friend of mine. My request is simple. If she's in danger, I hope you can help. How about it? For the ancient golden dragon, this was the best outcome. As long as the other party didn't order him around casually, it would be fine. If the other party was in danger, it would be a simple matter. Thinking of this, Gu Feng nodded his head and said, sure. Chapter 30-36. Longao was overjoyed when he heard the ancient golden dragon's promise. With the help of the ancient golden dragon, Sister Lin wouldn't have to worry about Shi once the matter of the nine-headed fierce beast's bloodline was solved. He had risked his life to block the ancient golden dragon's full blow. I want to ask, how did you block it? Until now, the ancient golden dragon still couldn't figure out how Yi Xiaotian did it. My primordial spirit is indestructible. Indestructible primordial spirit? Of course, the ancient golden dragon didn't believe Yi Xiaotian's words. He snorted in his heart. Since Yi Xiaotian didn't want to say more, he didn't continue to ask. In his opinion, the reason why Yi Xiaotian could block his full blow was that he must have some incredible treasure to protect him. Otherwise, how could he do it? Where are you going? To find a cave residence. With the ancient golden dragon following him, as long as the divine beast wasn't stupid, it wouldn't come out to provoke him. The ancient golden dragon entered the refining god tower to cultivate and released its aura. As expected. With the aura of a level 9 divine beast, Longao and Blackie were unimpeded. No other divine beasts dared to provoke them, including level 9 divine beasts. Soon. Under Blackie's aura, the man and the beast found the cave residence that Blackie had left behind. As Blackie had guessed, this cave residence was left behind by Blackie. Just like Longao, Blackie had left something for himself so that he could successfully awaken his primordial spirit. A month later, Blackie's aura changed completely. Obviously, he had successfully awakened his primordial spirit. Blackie, did you succeed? Blackie no longer had the mischievous smile from before. Instead, it had a cold expression. Blackie nodded and said, I've successfully awakened my primordial spirit. Boss, Yi Bu and the others have set a trap for us 10,000 years later. Are we going to fall into it? Blackie had successfully awakened his primordial spirit and recovered part of his memory. He had a general understanding of what had happened before and what would happen 10,000 years later. Even if it's a trap, we have to face it. What did that mean? Before Little Hay could speak, Longao said again, we'll deal with whatever comes our way. When the time comes, it's still unknown who will succeed. Xiao He seemed to understand what his boss meant. He nodded and didn't say anything else. He didn't dwell on what would happen 10,000 years later. Now. The most important thing now was to deal with the 9 infants' bloodline in Sister Lin's body as soon as possible. Otherwise, who knew what would happen to Sister Lin? He was very worried. Because he was worried, Longao asked impatiently, Xiao He, do you have a way to deal with the 9 infants' bloodline in Sister Lin's body? Di Tian, who was also known as Little Black, naturally knew that his boss was worried and anxious. Boss, Sister Lin's situation is a little troublesome. What happened? Let's return to the Domain Lords Alliance first. All right. Longao and Xiao He didn't continue to stay in the mountain range, and they returned to the Domain Leaders Alliance as quickly as possible. Presently, the Domain Lords Alliance was still calm and peaceful. Regardless of whether it was Shishur or Kang Hao, neither of them dared to act rashly. Both sides were fearful, and unless it was absolutely necessary, no one was willing to take the risk. Failure meant eternal damnation, and even they didn't have any way to deal with it. In a courtyard in the Domain Lords Alliance. Seeing that Longao had returned safely, Kang Lin was pleasantly surprised. She immediately said, Brother Long, where have you been for the past 3 years? You made me worried. 3 years, a whole 3 years. Ever since Longao left the Alliance for the chaotic mountain range 3 years ago, he hadn't appeared again. Kang Lin even personally went to the mountain range to look for him, but she still couldn't find any traces of him. Just as Kang Lin was about to enter the chaotic mountain range for the fourth time, she suddenly saw Brother Long return. How could she not be surprised and excited? Longao didn't hide anything from Kang Lin, and he told her everything that had happened. Brother Long, why did you do this? Sister Lin, as long as the bloodline in your body isn't dealt with, I won't be at peace. At this moment, Xiao Hei walked over and said with a smile, Sister Lin, let me check your body. Kang Lin nodded. If it was someone else, Kang Lin definitely wouldn't agree. However, Xiao Hei's situation was different. Of course, she knew the relationship between Xiao Hei and Longao. Xiao Hei released his primordial spirit and entered Kang Lin's body to check her bloodline. Time passed bit by bit. About 2 hours later, Xiao Hei withdrew his primordial spirit and sighed helplessly. He said, Brother, as you guessed, Sister Lin unintentionally merged with the nine-headed snakelet's bloodline, and the nine-headed snakelet has taken a liking to Sister Lin. What did that mean? Longao wasn't a fool, and he instantly understood what Xiao Hei meant. He was very worried. Once the nine-headed snakelet took a liking to her, he knew what would happen. Of course, the ancient golden dragon in the spirit refining tower also heard Xiao Hei's words. Nine-headed snakelet? Could it be the chaotic nine-headed snakelet, one of the top 10 divine beasts of chaos? The ancient golden dragon was shocked and immediately asked, Longao, is the nine-headed snakelet you mentioned just now the legendary chaotic nine-headed snakelet? Yes, it's him. Now that the ancient golden dragon was considered one of them, Longao naturally wouldn't hide anything. As a level 9 divine beast, the ancient golden dragon had heard of the top 10 divine beasts of chaos. The nine-headed snakelet was one of them. It was both good and evil, but its strength was extremely strong. It was considered a proud existence among the divine beasts. Xiao Hei, do you have a way? Longao looked at Xiao Hei in front of him anxiously. If even Xiao Hei couldn't do anything, then this matter would be troublesome. After all, Xiao Hei was one of the top 10 divine beasts of chaos, the sky-devouring beast. Xiao Hei's expression was very serious. After thinking for a while, he said helplessly, Brother, I really don't have a way now. I can't even communicate with the nine-headed snakelet. Not only that, just now seeing Xiao Hei's hesitant expression, Longao didn't continue asking. It seemed like Xiao Hei didn't want to talk about it here. It wouldn't be too late to discuss it after Sister Lin left. However, at this moment, Kang Lin suddenly said, Brother Long, Xiao Hei, if you have something to say, just say it. Anyway, this is my business, I have to know. Brother. Xiao Hei looked helplessly at his brother. He knew Sister Lin's temper very well. If he didn't say it, he didn't know what would happen to Sister Lin. Longao shrugged helplessly and said, if that's the case, just say it. Since things had already come to this, Xiao Hei didn't continue to hide it. Chapter 30-37. Sister Lin, your physique is a little special, so Juying likes you. Both Longao and Kang Lin had already guessed this. When Sister Lin's strength increases to a certain level, Juying will use your bloodline to be reborn and seize your primordial spirit. Both of them were already aware of this. It directly told them that Xiao Hei had something else to say. As expected. Xiao Hei looked at Sister Lin in front of him and said helplessly, I can sense that Juying really likes Sister Lin's physique, so, Xiao Hei did not continue, but the meaning in his words was very clear. Longao's face suddenly turned cold. Xiao Hei's meaning was very clear. Although Blackie and Juying had a good relationship before, it was still nonsense when it came to such matters. Juying would still devour Sister Lin and be reborn without hesitation. Let alone Juying, no matter who it was, they would do the same. What should he do? Kang Lin smiled and said, Brother Long, you don't have to worry about me. Maybe this is my fate. Fate. All of a sudden, Longao's body erupted with a powerful aura and said firmly, my fate is in my own hands. Back then, I could choose to die in front of the Chaos Great Tao. As for fate, I don't believe in it. I only believe in myself. Die. Chaos Great Tao? Kang Lin did not understand what Longao meant. Even if she was beaten to death, she would never think that the person she loved standing in front of her was the reincarnation of an expert. Moreover, He was a supreme expert who was about to prove the chaos great Tao. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha, boss is right. My fate is in my own hands. Why should our fate be controlled by others? We have to decide for ourselves. Kang Lin seemed to want to say something, but in the end, she held back. It would be a lie to say that she was not worried. Even Kang Lin did not want Ju Ying to seize her primordial spirit and be reborn. At this moment, Longao, I have something to tell you. Go ahead. With a flash of light, the ancient golden dragon had shrunk countless times and turned into a yellow dragon that was only slightly taller than a person. In the chaotic realm, the stronger the divine beast was, the harder it was for it to transform into a human. This is ancient golden dragon. The dragon race. Kang Lin sighed as she looked at the huge dragon in front of her. Of course, she knew what the dragon clan meant. Countless years ago, the dragon clan was one of the most powerful clans in the world. But for some unknown reason, many years ago, the dragon race was suddenly annihilated, leaving only a few scattered dragon race members scattered throughout the 99 heavens of the primal chaos realm. Kang Lin didn't think too much about it. Longao, I want to ask you to do me a favor. If you're willing, I can watch over her from now on. The ancient golden dragon already knew that the person it would be following was the woman before it. Tell me about it. Longao didn't immediately agree. Who knew what the ancient golden dragon was going to say? If he couldn't do it, or if it was something harmful, wouldn't the ancient golden dragon be unhappy if he couldn't do it? The ancient golden dragon wanted to say something but stopped. But after thinking for a while, it finally said, Longao, the 9-headed snakelet you just mentioned is one of the 10 most powerful divine beasts of chaos. So, I want to devour its bloodline before its primordial spirit awakens. Longao and Blackie seemed to have guessed it, but when they heard the ancient golden dragon's words, they were still shocked. The ancient golden dragon was really bold to devour the 9-headed snakelet's bloodline. But after thinking about it, although devouring the 9-headed snakelet's bloodline was dangerous, it was also a great opportunity. It was completely imaginable. If it could devour the 9-headed snakelet's bloodline and refine it, the ancient golden dragon could replace it in the future. Goofeng, you should know that with your current strength, you can't devour the 9-headed snakelet's bloodline by force. Even if you devour it, you can't refine it. How could the ancient golden dragon not know this? If I have your help, I believe my chances of success will be much higher. Before Longao could say anything, the ancient golden dragon continued, Longao, you should know that after I refine the 9-headed snakelet's bloodline and increase my strength, it will be a good thing for you and this little girl. Longao certainly knew this, but it was indeed troublesome. It was not easy to subdue the ancient golden dragon. If the ancient golden dragon lost its life because of greed, it would be a loss for him. Seeing Longao remain silent, Goofeng had already guessed what he was thinking. How about it? We can try. Before Goofeng could say anything, Longao said, but not now. Don't worry. Since I have promised you, I will choose the best time to help you. Blackie wanted to say something a few times, but in the end, he did not say anything. Although the 9-headed snakelet had a good relationship with him and was also one of the 10 great chaotic divine beasts, the 9-headed snakelet had chosen Sister Lin out of all people. If Blackie had to choose, he would definitely choose Big Brother and Sister Lin and give up the 9-headed snakelet. Because of this, Blackie did not say anything. It was a tacit agreement with Longao's actions. The ancient golden dragon nodded. He also knew that he could not be too hasty. Otherwise, the losses would outweigh the gains and it would be troublesome. Longao turned around and looked at Kang Lin in front of him. He smiled and said, Sister Lin, I still have matters to attend to and have to leave this place temporarily. The 9 neonate bloodline in your body will be fine for the time being. Before the 9 neonate revives, I will rush back to help you destroy him. As for Shue, I'm still worried about him. Therefore, Jiu Feng will stay behind to help you. He won't take action normally, but when your life is in danger, Jiu Feng will help you. Are you really going to leave? There are some things that I have to do. Moreover, I can only increase my strength by constantly training. Don't worry, I will be fine. Longao took out the refining god tower and handed it to Kang Lin. He said, Jiu Feng will stay in the Refining God Tower from now on. You have to bring the Refining God Tower with you at all times. Kang Lin nodded and kept the Refining God Tower in her space ring. As for Jiu Feng, he had already entered the Refining God Tower. Until now, the ancient golden dragon was still in a state of excitement. If he could really devour the nine-headed snakelet's bloodline, he could imagine the outcome. If he was unwilling before, from now on, especially after knowing about the nine-headed snakelet's bloodline, the ancient golden dragon would not be able to chase him away. Longao did not stay for long. At dusk on the second day, he had already left. Kang Lin was reluctant to part with him, but she also knew that Brother Long was right. Without going out to train, how could she increase her strength so quickly? It was simply a dream. Chapter 3038. As his cultivation base successfully broke through to the mid-level Divine King realm, Longao had successfully comprehended the 8th level of Divine Punishment. As long as he took another step forward, he would be able to comprehend the 9th level. After the 9th level of Divine Punishment, it would be the Pinnacle Instant. If he could comprehend the Pinnacle Instant, he would be able to comprehend the second divine ability. After leaving the Domain Lord Alliance, Longao planned to stay in the first heavenly region for a while. But the result? Since leaving the Domain Lord Alliance, Longao had clearly sensed that several divine emperors were following him. If nothing unexpected happened, the divine emperors that were following him should be from Shusha. It seemed that Shusha wanted to eliminate him. Longao had already guessed that Shusha had already known about the chaotic star field. It would be strange if he didn't eliminate him. He would deal with whatever came his way. Even if he couldn't kill the divine emperors now, Longao wasn't too worried. There were several powerful forces in the first heavenly region. The Martial Artists Alliance was only one of them. As for the Devil Palace, it wasn't in the first heavenly region. Even if the Devil Palace was powerful, they wouldn't dare to openly provoke the entire first heavenly region. Helpless, they could only choose another heavenly region as their base. Not only the Martial Artists Alliance, but even the Pill Hall was in the first heavenly region. Longao originally wanted to see Sister Han, but he chose to give up in the end. His current identity was a little special. If he rashly went there, he might implicate Sister Han. Longao only had a simple sibling relationship with Han Yin. It was precisely because of this special sibling relationship that Longao valued her. Boss, where should we go now? Xiao He had already awakened his Yuan spirit. He already knew many things. It could be said that they only had 10,000 years. If they still couldn't recover their peak strength after 10,000 years, there was only one outcome waiting for them. Complete destruction. Immortal Yuan spirit. Chaotic Dantian. In front of the Chaos Great Tao, they were all nonsense. As long as they could prove the Chaos Great Tao, they could achieve true immortality. This was the real reason why the divine mathematician and the others didn't hesitate to die to prove the Chaos Great Tao. How could Longao not know what Xiao He meant? 10,000 years was also not a very long thing to martial artists. Even if Longao was confident that he would be able to recover to his peak strength within 10,000 years, he was not confident at all. It wasn't just him. Most likely, even Master God Diviner and the others didn't have that much confidence. Clenching his fists tightly, he looked at the endless void in the distance. I have to recover my peak strength. Otherwise, the next reincarnation will be true destruction. I will do my best to assist Boss in proving the grand Tao of primordial chaos. The relationship between Blackie and Longao was very special. The two of them had gotten to know each other because of a shocking battle that lasted an entire 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, the battle ended with the defeat of the heaven-devouring beast, Di Tian, or Xiao He. Not only did the two of them not become mortal enemies, they even became good brothers. The fact that Longao was friends with a heaven-devouring beast was something that Master God Diviner and the others were very envious of. But you have to know. There were only 10 Chaos Divine Beasts in the Chaos Realm, and each of them was an incomparably arrogant existence. How could they become friends with humans? It was simply something that they did not even dare to think about. The only exception was Longao. Blackie, I was the one who had implicated you back then. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had to fall to such a state where you had to enter reincarnation. Blackie could clearly sense the guilt in the heart of his boss. He chuckled out. Boss, you and I are brothers. You don't have to be so courteous. Longao chuckled out as well. Since things had already happened, he had to think of a way to resolve it. Blackie, 10,000 years later, you and I will definitely be able to attain the Tao of Chaos successfully. By then, all those who had tried to harm us back then, will return them one by one. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Domain Lord Alliance. After receiving the news of Longao's departure, Kang Hao was exasperated. The matter with Lin had yet to be resolved. He did not know why Longao would leave for no reason. However, since the other party had already left, Kang Hao did not say anything more. After all, he couldn't just kidnap the other party back. Lin before Longao left, did he say anything to you? Kang Lin was not surprised that her father knew about little brother Long's affairs. After all, given her father's status and mystic powers, it would be a piece of cake for him to investigate little brother Long thoroughly. He didn't say anything at all. All he did was leave me with a legendary beast. Legendary beast? Kang Hao was no fool. Instantly, he understood what Longao meant. Seemed like he was afraid that Lin would be in danger. That was why he left the legendary beast behind. But, what use would an ordinary legendary beast be? Even a level 6 legendary beast might not be of any use. There was no way Longao would do something so useless. Seemed like this legendary beast was not simple at all. Lin, could you bring this legendary beast out for me to meet? Her. The moment she heard her father's words, Kang Lin's heart was troubled. According to little brother Long, the ancient golden dragon was extremely prideful. He was the one who had managed to tame it. But even so, there was no way the ancient golden dragon would strike out every single time. It had only promised him that it would only strike out when it was in a life and death situation. Just when Kang Lin was at a loss of what to do, a terrifying dragon aura erupted from the refining god pagoda. Then, the voice of the ancient golden dragon was heard. So we're of the same generation. I'm Jiyu Feng. How should I address you? Dragon Clan? Ancient Golden Dragon? Kang Hao had just sensed the terrifying aura that erupted from Jiyu Feng's body, and he was instantly stunned. He had never thought that the divine beast that Longao had left for Lin would actually be the legendary golden ancient dragon, and even a level 9 divine beast. He knew better than anyone else what a level 9 legendary divine beast was. It was an existence that surpassed the God Emperor realm. It was a super divine beast that could even compete with him. It was because of this. Kang Hao couldn't figure out how Longao did it. Not to mention a puny divine king, even he couldn't do it forcefully. It was simply inconceivable. Especially the ancient golden dragon. It was an extremely prideful existence. How could it be willing to work for a human? Kang Hao greets brother Jiyu. I promised Longao that I would strike when Kang Lin was in a life and death situation. Don't let anyone know of my existence. Yes. After saying that, the ancient golden dragon's aura disappeared without a trace. Until now, Kang Hao had yet to react. However, his face was filled with surprise. With the help of the ancient golden dragon, he didn't have to worry about Lin's safety. Not to mention others, even She might not be able to get anything out of it. Lin, father doesn't object to you being together with Longao. Chapter 3039. Kang Lin also sighed. It seemed that the divine beast that brother Long left for her was not simple. Otherwise, her father would not be like this. Kang Lin was also guessing the strength of the ancient golden dragon. Through spiritual consciousness. Father, what is his strength? Kang Hao of course knew who Lin was talking about. Level 9 divine beast. Ah! Kang Lin was shocked when she heard her father's words. Of course, she knew what a level 9 divine beast meant. It was an existence that surpassed Emperor God. It could even compete with her father and great elder She. She sighed. Kang Lin was touched. Although Longao did not explicitly state how he had subdued the ancient golden dragon, she knew very well that it would not be an easy task for Longao to subdue the ancient golden dragon. Domain Lord's Alliance, another place. Shusha's face was gloomy. As time passed, things became more and more troublesome. Longao, since you're the one Kang Lin loves, I'll start with you. This time, Shusha sent out 4 Divine Emperors, 2 Junior Divine Emperors and 2 Intermediate Divine Emperors. In Shusha's opinion, it should be easy for the 4 Divine Emperors to kill a Divine King expert. The reason why he sent out 4 Divine Emperors was to ensure that nothing would go wrong. After successfully breaking through to level 5 Alchemist, Longao began to refine level 6 elixir pills to advance to level 6 Alchemist. It was not easy to break through to level 6 Alchemist from level 5 Alchemist. Longao continued to refine pills and spent several years before he finally managed to advance to the 6th level of Alchemist. As for becoming a 6th level of Array Master, he had been unable to break through. Even so, Longao was pleasantly surprised. Becoming a level 6 alchemist meant that he could start refining level 6 elixir pills. After successfully breaking through to Intermediate Divine King, Longao's next task was to find a way to quickly advance to Advanced Divine King or even Peak Divine King. Only then could he advance to Divine Emperor Realm. Boss, there are 4 things following us. Why don't we swallow them? No. Longao knew what Xiao Hei meant. 4 Divine Emperors, 2 Junior Divine Emperors and 2 Intermediate Divine Emperors. If it was just 2 Junior Divine Emperors, Xiao Hei's Devour Heaven's divine ability would be able to swallow them. However, the most troublesome thing was that there were 2 Intermediate Divine Emperors among the 4 of them. If they acted rashly, they might end up losing the rice they used to lure them. Xiao Hei, don't be reckless. In addition to being afraid of the 2 mid-level God Emperors, Longao did not want to fall out with Shusha at this time. If it was just him alone, it would be fine. However, if he implicated Sister Lin because of this, he would feel very guilty. Blackie shrugged his shoulders helplessly. Since his big brother had said so, he could only endure it. Dan City. The headquarters of the Pill Hall was located in one of the biggest cities in the First Heavenly region. In the Dan City, no one dared to casually take action because the Dan Palace had law enforcement teams. There were law enforcement teams with all kinds of strengths. Among them, there were even Divine Emperors. Unless one was tired of living, no one would dare to cause trouble in Dan City. Longao and Xiao Hei paid the crystal stones to enter Dan City. They walked around the city. They had to admit that Dan City was not only big, but also prosperous. It was not something that Hei City could compare with. Boss, look. Sister Han. There was no need for Xiao Hei to say anything. Longao already saw Han Yin and Han Feng who were not far away. In the Pill City, everyone knew the 2 of them. One was the daughter of the Pill Hall's Palace Master, while the other was the son of the Pill Hall's Palace Master. The 2 of them were extremely talented. Longao did not want to meet them. He turned around and left. Han Yin recognized him as soon as he turned around. Brother Long. Han Feng and Han Yin were overjoyed. They quickly walked towards him. Sister Han, Brother Han, how are you? He sighed deeply in his heart. If he knew that he would meet them, he would not have come to Dan City. Now, he met Sister Han and Brother Han as soon as he stepped into Dan City. Originally, he thought that since the Pill City was very big, the probability of meeting the 2 of them was very low. Moreover, with their status, how could they leave the Pill Hall so casually? Brother Long, come with me. In an extremely luxurious restaurant, inside a private room. Brother Long, why didn't you look for us when you came to Dan City? Don't you treat us as friends? Han Yin was very unhappy. It would be fine if Longao didn't come to the First Heavenly region, but now, not only did he come to the First Heavenly region, he even came to Dan City, but he didn't look for them. How could they be happy? Longao shrugged helplessly and said, Sister Han, I am just passing by Dan City. I will leave soon. Longao did not say it clearly, but Han Yin and Han Feng knew very well. They did not say anything. After all, the other party did not come to find them for their own good. Brother Long, did you come to First Heavens for something? Han Yin knew very well that Longao would not come for no reason. After all, there was the Domain Lord Alliance here. Longao had killed Yi Mo. She believed that Yi Detian and Ji Yu Hao would not let this matter go. Both of them were from the Domain Lord Alliance. Moreover, until now, Yi Detian and Ji Yu Hao thought that Longao had died because his primordial spirit was burned. If the two of them knew that Longao was not dead, Yi Detian would definitely guess that his son's death was related to Longao. If that was the case, it was obvious what the outcome would be. Yes, I just left the Domain Lord's Alliance. I had some matters to attend to before I entered the Domain Lord's Alliance. Longao did not hide much and gave a brief account of what had happened. However, he did not mention anything about the ancient golden dragon and Zhu Ying. So that's how it is. Han Feng heaved a sigh of relief and said, Brother Long, since you know Domain Lord Alliance's alliance leader Kang, this matter will be much easier. Even Yi Detian and Ji Yu Hao can't fight against alliance leader Kang. When the time comes, as long as alliance leader Kang is willing to step in for you, this matter will naturally be resolved. How could Longao not know about Han Feng's thoughts? It was just that he did not plan to borrow anyone's strength because both Yi Detian and Ji Yu Hao were people he had to kill. How could Kang Hao kill two domain lords for him? It was simply a joke. Sister Han, Brother Han, I am prepared to settle this matter myself. As for the current me, I might not have such strength, but it doesn't mean that I won't be able to in the future. Chapter 30-40. How could the two of them not know Longao's character? Neither Han Yin nor Han Feng continued to say anything. Brother Long, what are you going to do next? Increase my strength. Once I break through to the Hierarch realm, I will go and find Ji Yu Hao and Yi Detian to settle the score. Both of them were Hierarch warriors. Unless one's cultivation could break through to the Hierarch realm, it would be impossible to deal with them. How are you going to increase your strength? If it was someone else who asked this, Longao would have already gotten up and left. Only Han Yin. Regarding Han Yin, Longao truly treated her as his biological elder sister. I don't know yet. I'll take it one step at a time. Longao really didn't know. After all, a breakthrough in cultivation wasn't something that could be achieved through closed-door cultivation. The fastest way was still to gain experience. Only through continuous training would there be hope of increasing one's strength. After thinking for a while, Han Yin said, Brother Long, have you heard of the Dragon Clan's Dragon Pool? He shook his head. Regarding the so-called Dragon Pool, Longao was completely clueless. It was still the same sentence. Although he had awakened his primordial spirit, he had only recovered the memories of his peak. As for the matters before the rebirth realm, he hadn't awakened them. After all, his cultivation hadn't recovered to its peak. The Dragon Clan was one of the strongest clans in the chaotic realm countless years ago. The Dragon Pool is the sacred cultivation ground of the Dragon Clan. It is also the place where countless giant dragons fell. Powerful dragon blood is gathered inside. Longao already understood what Han Yin meant and said, How do I enter the Dragon Pool? If they could enter casually, countless warriors would choose to enter the Dragon Pool. Although the Dragon Clan had been destroyed, it was understandable. The Dragon Pool was definitely not a place that could be entered casually. As expected. Brother Long, you don't know. Although the Dragon Clan has been destroyed, the Dragon Pool is protected by countless giant dragons' primordial spirit. It's very difficult for people to enter, but there are still warriors who enter. It has indescribable benefits for cultivation. There was no need for Han Yin to say more. Longao had already guessed it. Luck. Yes, it's luck. Longao already knew what Han Yin meant. Since that was the case. No problem. The three of us will try our luck. Han Yin and Han Feng looked helpless. Han Yin smiled bitterly and said, Brother Dragon, Big Brother and I have tried many times, but we have never been able to enter the Dragon Pool. At this moment. Han Feng continued, 1 in 10,000. Sometimes, there might not even be 1 in 10 million martial artists who can enter. Longao asked about the location of the Dragon Pool and immediately got up and hurried towards the Dragon Clan. The Dragon Clan was one of the most powerful clans in the Chaos Realm. The Dragon Clan had countless branches, and the ancient Golden Dragon Clan was one of them. No one knew why the Dragon Clan was destroyed. For no reason at all. He was confused. According to the legends, the Dragon Clan had offended a super expert, and as a result, the entire clan was destroyed. If that was really the case, it was hard to imagine how powerful the super expert who destroyed the dragon clan was. It was too terrifying. Longao was also very curious because the first leader of the dragon clan was one of the 10 great chaos divine beasts, the 9-headed dragon python. Who exactly was it that could destroy the entire dragon clan? Taking a step back. Even if someone could really do it, they should be afraid of the 9-headed dragon python and not dare to make a move. The destruction of the dragon clan had become the biggest secret in the Chaos Realm, and no one knew the reason behind it. The dragon clan sat in the Dragon Valley. It was boundless, and one couldn't see the end of it. Currently, martial artists could be seen everywhere in the Dragon Valley. Although 99% of the martial artists were unable to step into the dragon pool to cultivate, there were still countless martial artists who rushed over from various heaven realms to try their luck. If it didn't work, then forget it. If one was lucky and could really step into the dragon pool to cultivate, one would know what it meant. That was exactly the case. Countless martial artists were constantly trying, but there were still very few who could step into the dragon pool in the end. As a mid-level divine king, Longao could only be considered mid-level in the Dragon Valley. There were many people who were stronger than him. Longao obeyed the order. As long as they didn't take the initiative to provoke him, he wouldn't take the initiative to provoke others. Once someone came to find trouble, then don't blame him for being impolite. As the saying goes, if people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, I will return the favor twofold. However, in this world, there were always people who were blind. Just as Longao came to the dragon pool to try his luck, 3 people walked over. They were all divine king experts. Kid, wait up. If you want to enter the dragon pool, you have to pay 100 million crystal stones first. 100 million crystal stones? Longao wasn't a fool. The dragon pool was ownerless. After all, the dragon clan had been destroyed. If someone wanted to try their luck, there was no need to pay any crystal stones. The 3 of them were obviously looking for trouble. Seeing that he was a divine king expert, they wanted to take advantage of him. 100 million crystal stones is a little too little. I have trillions of crystal stones on me. Do you need them? The 3 of them were all peak divine kings. Of course, they wouldn't put Longao, a mid-level divine king, in their eyes. Trillions of crystal stones, even the 3 peak divine kings' faces changed when they heard about it. Endless greed filled their faces. The 3 of them smiled and said, "At least you know what's good for you. Pay all the crystal stones, and you can try to enter the dragon pool as many times as you want. Actually, you won't lose out at all." Won't lose out? Longao laughed coldly in his heart. He nodded his head and said, "Other than the trillions of crystal stones, I have many treasures on me. Let me think. I have a space god weapon. I have many more. Hold on. What did you just say? You have a space god weapon? Hurry up and hand it over. Hurry up. F***CK. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. To think that it's a space god weapon. Ha 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 ha. They laughed maniacally. Among all the divine weapons, space god weapons were the rarest. The 3 of them had not expected that the other party would not only have trillions of crystal stones on him, but also a space god weapon. If they could get their hands on these, they would be thrilled just thinking about it. The 3 of them were blinded by greed. They didn't even think about it calmly. If the other party really had these things, he would hide from them as fast as he could. Why would he say it out of his own accord? This didn't make sense at all. However, at this moment, all 3 of them were thinking about the so-called trillions of crystals and spatial artifacts. They didn't think too much about anything else, as long as they could get those things. As for the young man in front of them, the 3 of them had already decided that as long as he handed over those things, they would kill him to silence him. At that time, however, much of the young man's belongings would belong to them. Chapter 3041. Anyway, these things are useless to me. They might even get me killed. I'll give them all to you. Give it to me. The 3 of them were extremely excited. At this moment, a black shadow suddenly flew out of Longao's body at an extremely fast speed. What is this? How dare you provoke my boss? I'll swallow you. Blackie's body suddenly expanded. In just a few seconds, it became a huge monster. The three of them were a little dumbfounded. However, they were relieved when they felt that Blackie was only a level 5 divine beast. They didn't take Blackie seriously at all. With a sneer, the three of them charged at Blackie without hesitation. "How dare you play tricks with us? I'll kill you." "Really?" Blackie sneered and started to swallow the three of them with its swallowing divine ability. Blackie's cultivation had reached the peak of level 5 and was only one step away from level 6 divine beast. It could even swallow a beginner divine emperor, let alone a divine king. It could swallow warriors of the same level as it in seconds. Ah! A heart-wrenching scream was heard. Before the three of them could react, they had been swallowed by Blackie. Even their primordial spirits didn't have a chance to escape. Many people around were shocked by Blackie's terrifying strength. They had seen powerful people, but they had never seen such a powerful one. Ignorant. Blackie didn't take the three of them seriously at all. There was a huge dragon pool in front of them, which was blocked by a natural stone wall. If they wanted to enter the dragon pool, they had to go through the stone wall. In other words, the reason why 99% of people couldn't enter the dragon pool to cultivate was that they were blocked by the stone wall in front of them. According to the legend, the stone wall in front of them was formed by countless experts of the dragon tribe using their primordial spirit chi. This was also the real reason why the stone wall could block 90% of the warriors. Longao certainly knew how to try. He came to the stone wall. Longao released his primordial spirit and slowly seeped into the stone wall. If he could seep into the stone wall, he could enter the dragon pool. If he couldn't enter the dragon pool. In the end, the greatest obstacle to entering the dragon pool was the soul. Moreover, entering the dragon pool was not something that could be decided by the strength of the soul. Again, entering the dragon pool depended on luck. If they were lucky, they could enter the dragon pond. If one's luck was bad, not to mention one time, they might not even succeed in writing 10,000 words. Whether or not he could succeed was still unknown. Little Black looked on anxiously, wondering if Boss could enter the dragon pool. With Xiao Hei's protection, Longao did not need to worry about anyone coming to make trouble for him. He only needed to release his primordial spirit with all his heart. He had to enter the dragon pool. This was because only by entering the dragon pool would one be able to increase their strength faster. 10 minutes later, Longao was overjoyed. He immediately entered the stone wall with Xiao Hei. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared without a trace. Everyone was envious when they saw that the other party was able to enter the stone wall. Entering the stone wall meant that this person could enter the dragon pool to cultivate. This was a 1 in a million opportunity, yet this person managed to come across it. He was really lucky. Outside the dragon pool, not to mention divine emperors, there were even divine venerables. However, to cultivate in the dragon pool, one had to rely on luck instead of strength. Luck was more important than strength. The dragon pool was a huge stone pool. It was squarish and as big as a mountain. Longao had just stepped into the stone wall when he clearly sensed that there were many warriors in the entire blood pool. Although 99% of the warriors were blocked outside, according to the ratio, there were still many warriors who had stepped in. Longao did not care about the others. He only wanted to use the dragon pool to increase his strength. Entering the dragon pool. Inside the dragon pool, Longao sat quietly with his legs crossed. As expected, the dragon pool was filled with the blood of countless giant dragons. No one knew how much there was. The dragon clan itself was one of the countless branches. The blood of each dragon gathered into a dragon pool. If someone forcefully swallowed it, the greatest possibility was that they would explode and die. This kind of situation happened all the time. Ah! Save me! Save me! Ah! 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 There was a loud boom, and before that person could continue to speak, his body had already exploded from all sorts of dragon blood, and he was covered by it. Many people shook their heads helplessly. Even if they knew that consuming the dragon blood would result in death, the dragon blood in front of them was too tempting. No one could resist such temptation. Everyone knew that if they could successfully consume the dragon blood and refine it, Not only would their strength increase greatly, they could even obtain the strength of the entire dragon clan. What kind of concept was that? Not only that, legend had it that other than the blood of ordinary giant dragons, there was also the blood of the ancestor of the dragon clan, one of the 10 great chaotic divine beasts, the 9-headed dragon python. What kind of concept was that? It was because of the blood of the 9-headed dragon python. Even if someone was about to explode from the dragon blood in front of them, there were still people who kept trying as if they were not afraid of death. Some people had just died from the explosion. In less than a few minutes, there were more people who tried to consume the dragon blood and died. One after another, in just half an hour, there were more than 50 warriors who died from the explosion. Even Longao sighed when he saw the situation. Strength was indeed important, but compared to life, it was still not enough. Boss, are these people crazy? Just absorbing the dragon power here would bring endless benefits to their cultivation. Why do they want to consume the dragon blood? This is obviously suicide. What a bunch of fools. How could Longao not know what Xiao He meant? He shook his head helplessly and said with a smile, "This is the greed of humans. No one can resist such powerful dragon blood. Even if they know it, there will still be countless warriors who will continue to try." Before Xiao He could speak, Longao continued, "Not only them, even I want to try and see if I can consume the dragon blood here." Ah! Xiao He was a little dumbfounded when he heard his boss's words. He did not know what was going on with his boss. Why did he want to consume the dragon blood out of nowhere? It was not a bad thing to rely on the dragon breath to cultivate. If he forcefully consumed the dragon blood, who knew what would happen? Xiao He could not wait and said, "Boss, we don't have to do this at all. If the loss outweighs the gain, we won't even have the chance to regret. Even if we want to improve our strength quickly, this is a little too much." Chapter 3042. Time was more important than anything else. Xiao He, since you have awakened your primordial spirit, you should know what time means to us. How could Xiao He not know? They only had 10,000 years. Even so, they couldn't take such a risk. "Boss, it's okay if it's the blood of other dragons. You and I can sense that there's the blood of the 9-headed dragon python in the dragon pool. If you're careless, you can imagine the consequences." The 10 divine beasts of chaos were Sky-Swallowing Beast, 9-headed Fierce Beast, Zhuyin, Pishio, Chonyo, Swanni, Sky-Splitting Beast, Golden Swanni, 9-headed Dragon Python, and Daotai. Among the 10 divine beasts of chaos, the 9-headed Dragon Python was one of the more righteous ones. The dragon clan itself represented justice. Longao had always had a good impression of the 9-headed dragon python, although he had never dealt with it. If he could devour the dragon blood, he believed that it would be of great help to his strength. "Boss, are you really going to devour it?" Longao nodded. Since he had decided to devour it, he wouldn't change his mind. "Xiao He, I know what you mean, but time doesn't wait for us. You stay here and guard for me." "Okay." Since his boss had made his choice, Xiao He didn't continue to say anything. If something really happened to his boss, he would help him recover no matter what the price was. There was no doubt about it. Longao took a deep breath and didn't continue to hesitate. Since he had decided to devour it, it would be the same sooner or later as long as it could help him. He began to devour it crazily. What is that man doing? He's devouring it like this. Is he crazy? Seeing Longao suddenly devouring the dragon blood around him, the surrounding warriors were dumbfounded. They didn't know what was going on with him. Why did he suddenly become so crazy? He was simply courting death. But what was the result? Gradually, a blood chi shield began to form around Longao. Not only Longao, but also Xiao He was covered. It was very shocking. Some warriors finally couldn't bear it and rushed toward the blood chi shield. However, as soon as they touched the shield, they were directly shattered by it. They didn't even have a chance to react. What kind of concept was that? Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They didn't dare to continue to touch the blood-red chi shield. As for what had happened, no one knew. They would know everything once the man and the beast came out. Almost everyone gave up on cultivating and stared at the blood aura shield. Inside the blood aura shield, Longao and Blackie looked at the huge divine beast in front of them. They had already guessed that this half-dragon, half-snake creature with 9 heads was one of the legendary divine beasts of chaos, the 9-headed dragon python. Be it Xiao Hei or Longao, they had never come into contact with the 9-headed dragon python. What a powerful aura. Boss, the 9-headed dragon python is stronger than me. He nodded in agreement. Of course, Longao could clearly sense that the 9-headed dragon python in front of him was far more powerful than Blackie. It seemed that among the 10 great chaotic divine beasts, the 9-headed dragon python's power could definitely be ranked first or second. When the 9-headed dragon python had founded the dragon tribe, it had always stayed in the dragon tribe and never went out. However, the dragon tribe was annihilated for no reason. As for the 9-headed dragon python, its whereabouts were unknown. No one knew if it was dead or alive. What was going on? Longao, Di Tian, although we have never met before, I have heard of your great names like thunder. I trust that you have been well since we last met today. Brother Dragon Python, you are too polite. Facing a divine beast that used to be at the same level as them, Longao and Blackie didn't dare to be careless. Who knew if the 9-headed dragon python was an enemy or a friend? As the saying went, caution is the parent of safety. Especially at this moment, they were still in the territory of the 9-headed dragon python and their strength hadn't recovered. As though it could guess what the two of them were thinking, the 9-headed dragon python smiled and said, I have no ill intentions towards you. If I wanted to kill you, with your current strength, would you be able to contend against me? That's right. The two of them were thinking too much. Longao smiled and said, although I have awakened my primordial spirit, I have yet to recover to my peak strength. Therefore, I have to raise my strength as soon as possible. I don't need to say more about the dragon pool. I believe Brother Dragon Python should know about it. Of course I know. I was the one who created the dragon pool. Both of you are now in my body. They weren't surprised at all. This was because the two of them had already guessed that they had entered the body of the 9-headed dragon python when they were enveloped by the crimson light shield. It seemed that there was something fishy about this. Neither Longao nor Blackie asked. This was because the two of them knew clearly that there must be a reason why the 9-headed dragon python had sucked them into its body. Since this was the case, even if they didn't ask, the 9-headed dragon python would take the initiative to tell them. The two of you, aren't you curious as to why the dragon clan would still be destroyed even though I'm in charge of it? Yes. Longao didn't have the slightest concealment. Not to mention him, perhaps the entire chaotic world was extremely curious about the matter of the sudden annihilation of the dragon clan. After all, the strength of the 9-headed dragon python and the dragon clan was there. Who in the entire chaotic world could annihilate the dragon clan? It was simply an incredible matter. Sigh. The 9-headed dragon python let out a deep sigh. His face was filled with sorrow, self-blame and guilt. He sighed and said, because of my selfishness, all of my tribesmen have fallen. I am the sinner of the dragon tribe. Longao and Blackie looked at each other. They could see the curiosity in each other's eyes. They didn't know what was going on. Because of this, the two of them didn't ask much. They just listened quietly. Back then, I accidentally obtained a secret technique that could help me prove the Chaos Dao with the help of my tribesmen. Since then, my tribesmen have supported me unconditionally. Hence, all of my tribesmen began to offer their primordial spirit and blood. However, the result was that the 9-headed dragon python didn't continue speaking. However, the meaning of his words was clear. Longao and Blackie were also clear about it. They sighed helplessly in their hearts. In order to prove the Chaos Dao, he didn't hesitate to sacrifice the entire dragon tribe. If they were in his shoes, even if they were to prove the Chaos Dao, they would never do such a thing. Let's not talk about whether they could prove the Chaos Dao. Even if there was hope, they wouldn't sacrifice their tribesmen for their own sake. However, Longao didn't say much. Everyone had their own aspirations. The 9-headed dragon python might think that proving the Chaos Dao was more important than the lives of his tribesmen. There was no right or wrong in this matter. Blackie was also helpless. He sympathized with the 9-headed dragon python. Chapter 3043. Brother Dragon Python, You shouldn't have acted so recklessly before you were fully confident. It's all my fault for being obsessed with the Tao of Chaos back then. In the end, I went for wool and came home shorn. The nine-headed dragon python sighed deeply again. Losing the entire dragon tribe was a huge pain in the ass. Helpless. May I know how we can help Brother Dragon Python? Longao wasn't a fool. Since the nine-headed dragon python brought them here, there must be a reason. Otherwise, the nine-headed dragon python wouldn't be idling around. Brother Dragon, Brother Di Tien, to be honest, I need your help. I hope you can help me. Please speak. Longao didn't agree or reject the nine-headed dragon python immediately because they didn't know if they could do what the nine-headed dragon python asked. If they couldn't do it, wouldn't it be a pain in the ass if they agreed? I heard that Brother Dragon created the 9 Revolutions Chaos Realm and dominated the Chaos Realm. You've only reached the peak of the 7th Revolutions Chaos Realm and you're already above us. If you break through the 8th or 9th Revolutions Chaos Realm, you'll be the one with the most hope to prove the Tao of Chaos. Sigh. Di Tien sighed deeply. Longao looked helpless. He was young and impetuous back then because he had successfully broken through the peak in just 1,000 years and was on par with the marvelous mathematician and the rest. Especially the 9 Revolutions Chaos technique that he created. Back then, he relied on the 9 Revolutions Chaos technique to dominate the Chaos Realm. Gradually, the marvelous mathematician and the rest found out about him cultivating the 9 Revolutions Chaos technique. Please continue. Longao still didn't know what the nine-headed dragon python wanted. Could it be that the nine-headed dragon python wanted to cultivate his 9 Revolutions Chaos technique? Brother Dragon, I hope that you can help me when you prove the Tao of Chaos in the future. I'm not satisfied that I haven't succeeded in proving the Tao of Chaos after losing the entire dragon tribe. I see. Longao wasn't worried because the 9 Revolutions Chaos technique was created by him. Even if he imparted it to others, no one would be able to cultivate it. If it was possible. He believed that he had already imparted the 9 Revolutions Chaos technique to his family, including Xiao Hei. No problem. Without even thinking about it, Longao agreed. To Longao, this was a trivial matter. After all, it was better to have one more friend than one more enemy. The nine-headed dragon python was overjoyed. Thank you. You're welcome. I will thank you for your help in the future. Longao smiled and didn't say anything. It was too early to talk about the future now. He would take it one step at a time. I'll give you something. I hope you can recover to your peak strength as soon as possible. Right at this moment. The nine-headed dragon python condensed a drop of blood essence and said, "This is a drop of my blood essence. Consider it as a token of my sincerity. I hope it can help you." He was overjoyed. Of course, Longao knew what the nine-headed dragon python's blood essence meant. Not to mention the current him, even if he was at his peak, he would still need this drop of blood essence. Thank you. After saying that, Longao immediately turned around and left. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. The nine-headed dragon python looked at the endless blood sea around him and sighed deeply again. But it was too late to regret now. What happened back then was indeed his own recklessness. If he hadn't been obsessed, he wouldn't have lost the entire dragon tribe. Longao and Xiao Hei, who had left the bloody air shield, were surrounded by thousands of warriors before they could react. Just as Longao and Xiao Hei were about to fight, the situation suddenly changed. The blood in the blood pool began to roll. Columns of blood rushed up and crazily attacked thousands of warriors. In just a few minutes, thousands of warriors had been frozen. Longao and Xiao Hei certainly knew what was going on. Without any hesitation, they left here as soon as possible. They didn't want to be besieged. If it were in the past, the nine-headed dragon python would definitely kill thousands of warriors. But now, perhaps it was because of the destruction of the dragon tribe or because of guilt, the nine-headed dragon python only froze thousands of people. After Longao and Xiao Hei left, thousands of people regained their freedom. Even so, thousands of warriors were still shocked. They didn't know what had happened. Such powerful strength could freeze them. In other words, if the other party wanted to kill them, it would be a piece of cake. It would be a lie to say that they weren't afraid. Now that they thought about it, they were terrified. What happened just now? I don't know. Could it be the man and the beast who entered the air shield? It's nonsense. They are only in the Divine King realm. How could they freeze us? Seems like it's because of the dragon pool. We'd better speed up our cultivation and try to leave here as soon as possible. They couldn't wait to leave the dragon pool. However, the dragon pool was too tempting. No one chose to leave. Even if they risked their lives, they would continue to stay in the dragon pool to cultivate. After leaving the dragon tribe, Longao and Xiao He immediately entered the chaotic Dantian. Boss, since the 9-headed dragon python gave you a drop of blood, I'll give you a drop of my blood. It will definitely be beneficial for your cultivation. Longao didn't stand on ceremony with Xiao He. He nodded and said with anticipation, "Thank you very much. There's no need to stand on ceremony between brothers." Xiao He didn't hesitate. He immediately forced out a drop of essence blood and gave it to Longao. Other than Longao, it was impossible for others to get the essence blood of 2 chaotic divine beasts. Not to mention ordinary warriors, even the marvelous mathematician and the others couldn't do it. Longao immediately started cultivating. 2 drops of essence blood, 1 drop of essence blood came from the 9-headed dragon python, and the other drop of essence blood came from the heaven-swallowing beast. With the fusion of the essence blood of the 2 chaos divine beasts, Longao's cultivation might be able to break through to the God Emperor realm. Now, the most important thing for him was to increase his strength as soon as possible. The faster he could increase his strength, the better it would be for him. Longao forcefully swallowed the 2 drops of essence blood into his body. He started to refine the 2 drops of essence blood with his own strength. Originally, he wanted to see what would happen if the 2 drops of essence blood fused together. However, he didn't do so in the end. It would be safer to refine and fuse the 2 drops of essence blood separately. Longao didn't want to complicate matters. Who knew what would happen if the 2 drops of essence blood fused together? It would be a loss if he went for wool and came home shorn. He started to refine the essence blood crazily, hoping to succeed as soon as possible. Chapter 3044. Cultivating furiously. Just as Longao was about to cultivate the 2 drops of essence blood, suddenly, the situation changed. Within Longao's body, the 2 drops of essence blood that were initially forcefully separated began to collide with one another. Even though Longao did not know how strong the collision between the essence blood of the 9-headed dragon python and the heaven-devouring beast would be, he did not dare to underestimate it. He did not dare to hesitate at all. Longao began to channel energy into the 2 drops of essence blood, preparing to forcefully separate them. These 2 drops of essence blood were not to be underestimated. They were different from other essence blood. Be it the 9-headed dragon python or Xiao He, both of them had channeled all their essence into these 2 drops of essence blood. That was the reason why they were so strong. Boom, boom, boom. Longao's body rang out continuously. Then, the 2 drops of essence blood stopped colliding with one another and began to fuse together. In just a few minutes, the fusion was complete. He could not cultivate. Sensing that he could not cultivate these 2 drops of essence blood, Longao was helpless to the extreme. He was indignant in his heart. After all, he knew better than anyone else what these 2 drops of essence blood meant. What should he do? At this moment, even if he did not want to cultivate these 2 drops of essence blood, there was no way he could force them out forcefully. By the looks of it, he had to think of a solution as soon as possible. Otherwise, once these 2 drops of essence blood started to fuse together and collide with one another, he would be in endless trouble. He had to settle this matter as soon as possible. Helplessly, Longao had already thought of a solution. If there was no other way, he could only force the 2 drops of essence blood into the Chaos Axe. The Chaos Axe was a super legendary weapon that he had spent countless years and countless treasures to create. No matter how strong these 2 drops of essence blood were, if they were to be forced into the Chaos Axe, they would not be able to cause much of a stir. Lin Fan channeled the 2 drops of essence blood into the Chaos Axe quickly. Longao's intention was simple. Since he could not cultivate these 2 drops of essence blood, he would make use of these 2 drops of essence blood to reforge the Chaos Axe. The 2 drops of essence blood began to fuse with the Chaos Axe. Whether or not it would succeed was still unknown. Boss, what's going on? How could Longao not know what Xiao Hei was asking? He shrugged helplessly. Blackie, I don't know what's going on either. The only thing I can be sure of is that if I were to forcefully refine and fuse the 2 drops of blood essence, not only would I not be able to increase my strength, it would even hinder my cultivation. How was that possible? Of course, Xiao Hei wouldn't doubt Longao's words. He was just very curious. He didn't know why Boss couldn't fuse his essence blood with the 9-headed dragon python's essence blood. He didn't continue asking. Since Boss said so, it meant that Boss didn't know about this either. Although I can't fuse the 2 drops of essence blood, it might not be a bad thing if I can fuse them into the Chaos Axe. Longao was very confident in his primal Chaos Axe. If he could upgrade the Chaos Axe again, it would be a very good thing for him. One day later, after the primal Chaos Axe fused with the 2 drops of blood essence, the primal Chaos Axe's grade increased once again. Longao had full confidence that once he used the primal Chaos Axe, even if he faced a peak Divine King, he could still kill one without using the array. How could he not be surprised? However, after messing around for half a day, his cultivation didn't improve at all. He was very unhappy and helpless. He couldn't tell if his decision back then was right or wrong. Back then, in order to deal with the matters after reincarnation, Longao started making arrangements. In order to prove the Tao of primal chaos after reincarnation, even though he had successfully awakened his primordial spirit, it would be much harder for him to regain his peak strength than the clairvoyant and the rest. It would be much harder for him. 10,000 years. If he couldn't regain his peak strength after 10,000 years, he would be in a passive position. In other words, he only had 10,000 years. Boss, what should we do next? Since they had already left the dragon pool, Blackie was very clear that no matter if it was him or Boss, they would be too embarrassed to go back. No matter what, the 9-headed dragon python had given Boss a drop of essence blood. This was much better than cultivating in the dragon pool. Let's go back to the Black Stone Heavenly Region. Xiao Hei knew what his father meant. However, he didn't say much. No matter what Boss did, he would support him unconditionally. Black Stone Heavenly Region. Longao originally wanted to go somewhere else to cultivate, but after thinking about it, he decided to forget about it. The best way was to return to the Black Stone Heavenly Region and cultivate while trying to deal with Jiyu Hao and Yi Detian. Jiyu Hao and Yi Detian had already arrived at the Black Stone Heavenly Region from the Zonglong Heavenly Region and occupied the Dragon City. As for the Zonglong Heavenly Region, Yi Detian didn't put it in his eyes at all. He was an elder of the Domain Lord Alliance, and he didn't care about a mere Domain Lord. The main reason he came down this time was to find the murderer of Yi Mo. However, until now, he still didn't have any clues. As for the Domain Lord of the Zonglong Heavenly Region, the Domain Lord Alliance had already sent someone to take over. As for the Domain Lord of the Black Stone Heavenly Region, no one had taken over yet. However, according to the Domain Lord Alliance, the Domain Lord's position would be temporarily taken over by Yi Detian. Black Stone Heavenly Region, Dragon City, City Lord's Mansion. Jiyu Hao did not want to continue waiting, because the Shenyuan sword was still nowhere to be found, and the divine beast beside Longao was nowhere to be found. If he continued to wait like this, who knew how long he would have to wait? Losing his patience, Jiyu Hao directly said, "Brother Yi, there are still some matters for me to take care of in the Thunder Heavenly Region. I will take my leave first. If there is anything you need me to do, you only need to send me a message." How could Yi Detian not know what Jiyu Hao meant? He was almost certain that his son's death had nothing to do with Jiyu Hao, and if that was the case, there was no point in Jiyu Hao staying behind. After all, they could only be considered ordinary friends, each with their own ulterior motives, and were only using each other. "Thank you, I won't send you off." Jiyu Hao did not stay any longer, and quickly left. Within the Dragon City, Jiyu Hao did not directly fly away. Instead, he walked on the street like an ordinary person with a gloomy face. If he could not find Longao's corpse, he would not be able to find the old fellow's inheritance. As long as he could not find the Shenyuan inheritance, his heart would not be at peace. However, the location of Longao's corpse was still a mystery. Boss, Jiyu Hao. The current Longao had already disguised himself, and his own strength was controlled at the superior god level. Jiyu Hao himself did not know Longao, and would never have thought that the Longao who had already fallen would suddenly appear in the Dragon City. Chapter 3045. Towards Jiyu Hao, Longao wished that he could immediately kill him. Although he didn't receive any inheritance from Shenyuan Bubai, Longao still treated Shenyuan Bubai as his master. A teacher for a day, a father for life. It was because of Jiyu Hao that his master died. One day, he would have to clean up the sect. Longao clenched his fists as he watched Jiyu Hao slowly leave. He suppressed the killing intent in his heart. Xiaohei didn't say anything. He was helpless. In the end, it all depended on strength. If he and his boss broke through to the Supreme God Realm, then Jiyu Hao wouldn't be able to leave. But now, he could only watch Jiyu Hao leave. He sighed helplessly. Longao didn't retract his eyes even after Jiyu Hao left. He was still staring at Jiyu Hao. One day, I will take revenge for my master twice as much. Jiyu Hao's departure was a good thing for him. The current Dragon City had changed. With Yi Detien's arrival, his elixir pavilion was destroyed by him. It didn't matter at all. Dragon City, in the City Lord's mansion. Other than Yi Detien, there were 10 other divine emperors. Inside the Domain Lord's mansion, Yi Detien's face was very gloomy. Listening to his subordinate's report, his face became more and more gloomy and ugly. Can the Great Elder's news be confirmed? Lord, the Great Elder can confirm that Longao didn't die and appeared in the Domain Lord's alliance. The Great Elder has already sent 4 divine emperors to kill him. Longao didn't die. He didn't die after burning his primordial spirit. Was this true? Yi Detien wasn't a fool. If Longao didn't die, then it could only mean one thing. His son's death must have something to do with this person. You may leave. Yes. Yi Detien released a strong killing intent. Even if he was a fool, he could guess that Longao must be the one who killed his son. Longao. The next day. What? Longao has already entered Dragon City? Yi Detien jumped to his feet when he heard the report from the 4 Shenhuang cultivators. His face was filled with shock and disbelief. Was this person trying to provoke him? The other party had already gone to the Domain Leaders Alliance, so he should know that with his status, he would definitely know about this matter. Since that was the case, the other party couldn't wait to avoid him, so he just had to barge into his territory. Could it be that the other party did not kill his son at all? Did he guess wrongly? Impossible. For some reason, Yi Detien was certain that Longao was the one who had killed his son. He couldn't think of anyone else who had the guts to do so. Endless rage. From Yi Detien's point of view, the fact that the other party dared to come to Dragon City, other than to provoke him, meant that the other party must have some other motive. But no matter what, since the other party had come, there was no need for him to leave. The 4 of you, stay and help me. Yes, the Great Elder has already instructed us to do our best to help you deal with this Longao. When Yi Detien heard that Longao was related to the eldest miss, he sneered in his heart. He already knew why the Great Elder wanted to deal with this person. It was because of Kang Lin. Yi Detien didn't act immediately. In order not to alert the other party, he started to make arrangements in secret. According to the 4 Shenhuang cultivators, this person might have a spatial artifact on him. No wonder he dared to enter Dragon City so arrogantly. In Dragon City, Longao had already guessed that Yi Detien might have already known about his existence. He didn't expect the 4 Shenhuang cultivators to be able to track his location and follow him to Dragon City. It seemed that the 4 of them were not simple. Boss, since Yi Detien already knows about us, what should we do? Xiaohei obviously knew the severity of the situation. No matter what, Yi Detien's strength was obvious. It was almost impossible for a godly venerable to kill him head-on. But one had to know. Yi Detien's situation was completely different from the ancient golden dragons. The only reason the ancient golden dragon was able to enjoy such a good life was because it had fallen for Yi Detien's trick. If Yi Detien didn't give in, it would be impossible to make the ancient golden dragon submit. Longao knew what Xiao He meant. Since we're already here, we won't leave so easily. Longao had already decided before entering Dragon City. Under the suppression of Yi Detien and the others, he might be able to increase his cultivation level quickly. Boss, how should we deal with Yi Detien? If we can't deal with Yi Detien, we'll deal with those who can. There are currently 14 Shenhuang cultivators in Dragon City. According to my preliminary calculations, 4 of them should be beginner Shenhuang cultivators. At this point, Longao did not continue to speak, but the meaning in his words was already very clear. Xiao He smiled and said, "Boss, leave the 4 of them to me. My cultivation level has already reached the peak of level 5. If I can devour all 14 of them, I can definitely reach level 6. Level 5 and level 6 were 2 completely different concepts. The difference between the 2 was too great. They weren't even on the same level. Xiao He couldn't wait. He definitely wouldn't be able to deal with a godly venerable or a mid-level godly emperor cultivator. However, devouring a beginner godly emperor was more than enough. Longao smiled and nodded. "We'll devour them one by one right under Yi Detien's nose. I'd like to see how a godly venerable cultivator will do." The current Dragon City was considered a very powerful city. Other than Yi Detien, who was a godly venerable, there were also 14 Shenhuang cultivators. Kang Hao obviously knew about this, but he didn't step in to stop it. Kang Hao wasn't a fool. If he forcefully intervened, it would give the Great Elder and Yi Detien something to use against him. It would be very troublesome then. He couldn't allow himself to become passive just because of Longao. His status alone wouldn't allow him to do that. In the first upper region, when She received the news, he was also shocked. He also didn't think that Longao would actually go to Dragon City. He was simply walking right into a trap. He had seen arrogant people before, but he had never seen someone as arrogant as Longao. This was perfect. He could let Yi Detien kill him. A godly venerable cultivator and 14 Shenhuang cultivators working together was more than enough to deal with any Shenhuang cultivator, let alone a Shenhuang cultivator. After all, the strength of a godly venerable cultivator and a Shenhuang cultivator was obvious. It would be unbelievable if there were any accidents. Chapter 3046. Territory Masters Alliance. Within the study room, how could Kang Hao not understand She's intentions? His face was grim. If he were to strike out forcefully, he would be in an extremely passive position. Big brother, if anything were to happen to Longao, we wouldn't even know if we would be at a disadvantage. Furthermore, we wouldn't even know how to answer to Lin. Kang Han already knew about the relationship between Longao and Lin, especially the fact that there was a level 9 legendary beast. This was a relationship that was worth supporting. Just think about it. If it were anyone else, would they be willing to give away a level 9 legendary beast? That was something absolutely inconceivable. A level 9 legendary beast was an existence that surpassed the God Emperor. Naturally, Kang Han knew what that meant. And that was the reason why Kang Han wanted to help out Longao. Second brother, She's intention is for us to strike out. If we were to help Longao, we would fall right into his trap. How could Kang Han not understand his big brother's intentions? He was exasperated. "Big brother, how about I go and help out Longao?" "Sure." Kang Han had thought that his big brother would reject him. To think that his big brother would agree to it. "Then I'll leave right now." Kang Hao's face was grim. "Second brother, you must remember not to go overboard. If we were to fall out with She right now, it wouldn't do us any good." Understood. How could Kang Han not understand his big brother's intentions? He turned around and left immediately, disappearing without a trace. "She, dealing with Longao is the worst move you've ever made." Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Blackstone Heavenly Region, Dragon City, Longao and Yi Detien were playing hide and seek. Both of them had their own agendas. "Boss, the heavens are truly on our side." Longao nodded his head excitedly. He had not expected Yi Detian to scatter the 14 god emperors all over the place. His intentions were simple. Yi Detian was just trying to cast a net and catch him like a turtle in a jar. In Yi Detian's eyes, he was just a puny godly king. Unless he burned his primordial spirit, he wouldn't be a match for a godly emperor. The 14 godly kings were scattered all over Dragon City, looking for Longao. However, Longao was in his chaotic dantian. Even if the 14 of them turned the entire city upside down, they wouldn't be able to find him. It was impossible. The 4 primary god emperors were also sent out. How could Longao and Blackie not be excited? Begin the operation. Longao and Xiao He had been waiting for this moment. How could they give up so easily? Yi Qiuo, a beginner godly emperor, was Yi Detian's cousin. It was because of Yi Detian that Yi Qiuo, who originally had an average aptitude, was able to successfully break through to the God Emperor realm with the help of so many resources. All these years. In order to expand his influence, Yi Detian had the full support of the Great Elder. He had formed his own sphere of influence. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to casually send out 10 divine emperors. You are Yi Qiuo? Who are you? Longao was extremely depressed. Yi Detian and the others had been looking for him for a while, and he was already standing in front of them. How could they not know who he was? What nonsense. You're not looking for me. You are Longao? It's the real deal. Ah! Seeing Longao suddenly appear in front of him, Yi Qiuo was a bit shocked. They had been looking for him for a long time, but they hadn't made any progress after so many days. They didn't expect him to take the initiative to come to them. He looked so confident. Did he have something to rely on? The more the other party acted like this, the more fearful Yi Qiuo became. After all, the other party had killed Yi Mo. However, after thinking about it, the main reason why the other party could kill Yi Mo and a level 6 divine beast was because the other party had burned his soul. As for why he didn't die from the backlash, it was unknown. It would be a lie to say that they didn't want this secret technique. If they could burn their primordial spirit and survive, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. They might even be able to kill enemies above their level. Thinking of this, Yi Qiuo laughed and said, "There is a path to heaven but you don't want to take it. There is no door to hell but you barge in. If that's the case, then Longao, don't blame me for being impolite." Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha. When Yi Qiuo thought of the fact that he was about to kill the other party and even obtain all of the other party's secrets, he felt like a meat pie had fallen from the sky. However, before he could make a move, ha ha ha, I'll devour you. Yi Qiuo jumped in fright when a colossal being appeared. But when Yi Qiuo sensed that the divine beast that suddenly appeared in front of him was only at the 5th rank, he relaxed. What kind of joke was this? A 5th rank divine beast was equivalent to a god-king martial artist. The difference in strength between them was too great. But what was the result? Yi Qiuo sensed that the power of time around him had all been frozen, especially himself. It was as if he had sunk into a quagmire, unable to move at all. At this moment, Yi Qiuo finally realized the severity of the situation. Why did the other party dare to appear here? Why was he so fearless? Why wasn't he afraid of him? Why did he take the initiative to attack? All of these indicated that the other party was not afraid of him at all. If Yi Qiuo had not seen it with his own eyes, he would have found it hard to believe. But it was too late for regrets now. Yi Qiuo could clearly sense how strong the other party was. He immediately turned around and left, not daring to stay any longer. But what was the result? Since things had already turned out this way, how could Longao and Xiao He choose to give up so easily? If Yi Detian saw Yi Qiuo's corpse, he would definitely fly into a rage. Xiao He, don't waste time. Devour, devour. It was incomparably overbearing. But Xiao He had the right to be overbearing. He possessed the devouring heaven divine ability that could devour a junior divine emperor. No one would believe this if they heard about it. Catcher. Xiao He directly devoured Yi Qiuo. From the beginning to the end, Yi Qiuo did not even have the chance to react. He did not even have the chance to escape. A junior divine emperor was nothing in front of Xiao He. Only mid-divine emperors and above could resist Xiao Hei's devouring heaven divine ability. When Xiao Hei's cultivation level reached the 6th level, not to mention a junior divine emperor, even a mid-divine emperor would be more than enough for him to devour. Boss, let's immediately go to other places and devour the remaining 3 junior divine emperors. Longao nodded and said, we have to be fast. We have to do it before Yi Detian can react. Otherwise, once Yi Detian is prepared, it will be difficult to devour the other divine emperors. Chapter 3047. How could Xiao Hei not know what his boss meant? Xiao Hei nodded. Longao took Yi Kuo's body and left quickly with Xiao Hei. His speed soared to the extreme as he sped towards the other 3 places. There was no suspense about what happened next. The beginner divine emperors had no chance of resisting Xiao Hei's devour heaven superpower. Xiao Hei swallowed 2 beginner divine emperors consecutively. In just 2 hours, 3 beginner divine emperors were devoured. There was only 1 beginner divine emperor left. Yi Rong, Yi Detian's younger brother, was Yi Detian's confidant. Just as Xiao Hei was about to devour Yi Rong, suddenly, the situation changed. Yi Rong suddenly took out a treasure from his space ring. It was so powerful that even Xiao Hei and Longao couldn't devour it. They could only watch as Yi Rong left. Boss, what treasure is that? Xiao Hei looked at the figure that was gradually disappearing. Until now, Xiao Hei was still sighing. Longao's face was also very serious. He said, if I'm not wrong, it should be the legendary phantom. But Yi Rong has completely merged with it. Otherwise, if we could get it, he sighed. He knew very well what the phantom meant. Strictly speaking, the phantom was a treasure and a divine beast. Although its level wasn't high, it was very powerful. It was just that there were too few phantoms in the chaos world, so few that it was pitiful. Domain Master's manner. Looking at the 3 corpses in front of him, Yi Detian didn't say a word. He was exceptionally calm. But everyone could clearly feel the terrifying murderous aura coming from Yi Detian. Endless anger. Endless murderous aura. Originally, they were looking for Longao to kill him. But they never expected that Longao would turn the tables and kill 3 of them. Their men were killed right under their noses. Humiliation. This was simply a humiliation, an enormous humiliation. How did Longao do it? There were 11 people standing in front of the corpses. They were the 11 divine emperors. Yi Rong was also filled with lingering fear, and said, Big brother, Longao himself is only a divine king martial artist, he is not my opponent at all, but he has a terrifying divine beast by his side, although it is only a 5th level divine beast, it can forcefully devour me. Divine beast. Yi Detian had already seen the mythological beast by Longao's side with his own eyes. Back then, it had disappeared right under his nose for no reason. Even now, he still couldn't figure out why. Because of Phantom? Yeah, if it wasn't for the Phantom, I would have been devoured by now. He felt a lingering fear. If not for the fact that he had fused with the Phantom, he would have been devoured by the other party. What kind of mythological beast was it? To think that it actually possessed such powerful might. Humph, it seems that this divine beast can only devour divine emperors. As for the warriors above divine emperors, they have no way to devour them. Actually, Yi Detian wasn't the only one who had guessed this. Everyone else had guessed that Yi Detian's opponent was obviously a low-level godly emperor. It seemed like Yi Detian could only defeat low-level godly emperors. As for mid-level godly emperors and above, Longao couldn't defeat them. He had miscalculated. It was a huge miscalculation. Brother, what should we do now? This time, Longao is obviously here to pick a fight. If this continues. Yi Rong didn't continue speaking. He couldn't imagine how a puny divine king could provoke them even if he had the help of a powerful divine beast. He was simply courting death. If it was someone else, they wouldn't dare to do this. Longao was simply a lunatic. A lunatic who wasn't afraid of anything. Yi Detian knew what Yi Rong meant. He said coldly, "Don't go out now. The rest of you, continue to lock onto Longao's position." Longao had purposely sent the 3 corpses to the Domain Master's manor. However, he didn't manage to devour Yi Rong. Longao was extremely depressed. Even if he was beaten to death, he wouldn't have expected Yi Rong to have fused with the Phantom. Otherwise, he would have thought of a way to deal with him. As expected. Longao wasn't surprised that Yi Rong didn't come out. He had already guessed that Yi Dietian must have guessed that he and Xiao He could devour a junior Divine Emperor but couldn't deal with a stronger Divine Emperor. In that case, as long as Yi Dietian wasn't a fool, he wouldn't let Yi Rong come out. Brother, since Yi Dietian has already guessed it, we should do the opposite. We should think of a way to deal with a mid-level Divine Emperor. Longao knew what Xiao He meant. If they could kill a mid-level Divine Emperor, they wouldn't have waited until now. However, since Xiao He said so, it meant that Xiao He must have a way to deal with a mid-level Divine Emperor. That would be great. Xiao He, do you have a way to deal with a mid-level Divine Emperor? Brother, you're already a peak grade 5 array master now. If you can improve further and become a grade 6 array master, you can set up a super grade 6 array master. I believe that you can even deal with a high-level Divine Emperor with ease, let alone a mid-level Divine Emperor. Array masters were Yi Dietian's greatest trump card. Longao, of course, hoped that he could become a grade 6 array master. However, he had already tried many times, but he couldn't do it. He was stuck at the bottleneck of the peak grade 5 array master. Longao sighed deeply and said helplessly, "Alright, I'll try again." This time, Longao was still preparing for a double breakthrough. In any case, alchemy had already broken through to the 6th level realm. After entering seclusion, Longao never came out again. Time passed bit by bit, and in the blink of an eye, 10 years quietly passed. For 10 years, Yi Dietian had brought 11 people to find Longao's location. However, they hadn't found anything. They weren't even sure if Longao was still in Dragon City. Ha ha ha, brother, you're really something. Although you haven't become a high-level Divine King, you've become a grade 6 array master. That way, we can kill mid-level Divine Emperors, or even high-level Divine Emperors. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha. Xiao He was very excited. He knew what it meant for Xiao He to become a grade 6 array master. Once he could set up a grade 6 array master, it would be a great help to them. They would be able to deal with mid-level Divine Emperors, or even high-level Divine Emperors. They wouldn't have to be passive anymore. Longao nodded and said, "I spent 10 years to upgrade the 9 heavens 10 earths killing array. Now, it's a grade 6 array master. It can kill Divine Emperors. Xiao He, let's not fight Yi Dietian head-on. Let's find a way to defeat him one by one." Chapter 3048. What should we do? Defeating them one by one sounded easy, but it was extremely difficult. But one must know. Beginner Divine Emperors couldn't be compared to mid-level and high-level Divine Emperors. Ch, let's end this quickly. Only by ending this quickly could he maximize his gains. By the time Yi Dietian reacted, he would have already done it. By then, Yi Dietian would be furious. In the Domain Master's manner. Other than Yi Rong, who was still with Yi Dietian, the other 10 Divine Emperors had already been sent out. Although 10 years had passed, Yi Dietian still hadn't made a decision. He continued to target them. Among the 10 Divine Emperors, there were 2 peak Divine Emperors. Longao and Xiao He had already decided that they would only target 8 of the 10 Divine Emperors. As for the 2 peak Divine Emperors, they couldn't deal with them yet. Although they had already set up the level 6 9 heavens 10 earths killing array, they didn't know if it could kill mid-level and high-level Divine Emperors. No matter what, they had to try. How would they know if they didn't try? As if he could guess Longao's worries, Xiao He smiled and said, "Boss, what are you worried about? Even if we can't kill mid-level and high-level Divine Emperors, it won't be easy for them to deal with us." Regarding this point, Longao indeed had full confidence. Just like what Xiao He had said. Even if the 9 heavens 10 earths killing array couldn't kill mid-level and high-level Divine Emperors, it wouldn't be easy for them to deal with him. Especially since he had a chaotic Dantian, he could leave anytime he wanted. Let's go. Xiao He and Longao immediately started to locate the Divine Emperors. In the northeast. Just as Longao locked onto a mid-level Divine Emperor, he was locked onto by a terrifying aura before he could even activate the array. He was shocked. In an instant, Longao knew that he had been tricked. Longao, how dare you kill my son? Today, I will tear you into pieces. Yi Detian had already guessed that Longao would come, but he hadn't expected him to wait for 10 years. However, even if it was 100 years, 1,000 years, or even 10,000 years, as long as he could avenge his son, it would be worth it. Just as Longao was about to bring Little Black into his chaotic dantian, the situation suddenly changed. An even more terrifying power instantly descended upon them. Both Longao and Yi Detian's expressions changed because the person who had come was actually a god emperor. But you have to know. Emperor gods were the strongest warriors in the Ling clan. Yi Detian couldn't figure out who it was that dared to interfere in his business. However, when he thought about the fact that the other party was an emperor god, he couldn't help but feel helpless. Let's go. Before Longao could react, he had already been forcefully taken away. From beginning to end, everything happened too suddenly. My lord. Go back. Yi Detian was a little anxious because he had already guessed something. If that was really the case, then things would be a little troublesome. At the peak of a secluded mountain. Senior, thank you for saving me. Looking at the middle-aged man in front of him, Longao was certain that he didn't know this person. If that was the case, why would he suddenly help him? Yi Detian's status was obvious. Even if he was an emperor god, Yi Detian had Shasha behind him. No matter who it was, they wouldn't do such a thing. What was the reason? You were too reckless. What did that mean? Hearing this, Longao became even more curious. However, he still said, Senior, please tell me. My name is Kang Han. Lin is my niece. Ah. So it was Sister Lin's second uncle. Longao never thought that Sister Lin's second uncle would help him. When he had gone to the Domain Leaders Alliance, he hadn't seen this person at all. Kang Han was an emperor god. His strength was above Yi Detian's. Longao, because of Shi, I can't help you directly. I understand. Longao was well aware of the relationship between Kang Hao and Yi Detian. If Kang Han killed Yi Detian openly, then it would be tantamount to falling out with Shi. Kang Hao wasn't willing to do such a thing, and neither was Kang Han. It was unrealistic to start a war with Shi for the sake of one person. However, Longao was very surprised that the other party could do this. As long as Yi Detian wasn't an idiot, he would be able to guess that the person who had helped him was definitely from the Domain Leaders Alliance. Furthermore, it was definitely someone from the Alliance Master's side. I don't have any objections to Lin being with you. The fact that you're willing to give this ancient golden dragon to Lin is already a testament to your feelings for her. I want to ask, how did you subdue this ancient golden dragon? Kang Han was still sighing. After all, he knew better than anyone what a level 9 divine beast meant. A level 9 divine beast's strength was even above his own. It was precisely because of this that Kang Han was sighing. This was Longao. If he was in Kang Han's shoes, he would definitely be unwilling to do so. Not to mention a level 9 divine beast, even if it was a level 8 divine beast, or even a level 7 divine beast, he wouldn't be willing to do so. Longao had a good impression of Kang Han, so he didn't hide anything from him. He told Kang Han about what had happened in the chaotic mountain range. After listening to the story, Kang Han sighed. Lin Fan was really a madman. If it was someone else, they wouldn't even be able to escape in time. How would they dare to make a bet with the ancient golden dragon? But thinking about it, only with courage could there be opportunities. If it wasn't for Longao's craziness, how could he have subdued a level 9 divine beast ancient golden dragon? With the ancient golden dragon's protection, Lin didn't have to worry about anyone harming her. Longao, you're still not a match for Yi Detian. If this continues, it won't do you any good. Why don't you increase your strength first, then think of a way to deal with Yi Detian? How could Longao not know what Kang Han meant? If he just left like this, he was really unwilling. Even if I can't deal with Yi Detian, I'll kill a few of his people first. Kang Han knew Longao's character very well. How could a madman give up so easily? However, he really admired Lin Fan. Not everyone would dare to do this. Young people should be like this. Very good. I'll stay here for a while. If there's anything, Feel free to look for me. However, I can't deal with Yi Ditian right now. Thank you, second uncle. Since Kang Han was Kang Lin's second uncle, then he was also his second uncle. Longao was really surprised by Kang Han's sudden attack this time. After he left, he immediately prepared to continue attacking. Chapter 3049. Inside the Domain Master's Manor. Yi Ditian had already sent the news back to the Domain Master's Alliance. Yi Ditian was certain that Kang Hao had something to do with this. Other than the Alliance Master and the Great Elder, he couldn't think of anyone else in the Domain Master's Alliance who would send out an Emperor God so casually. As for whether it was the Domain Master's Alliance or not, besides Kang Lin, who else would dare to offend him and help Longao? The relationship between Kang Hao and Kang Lin was obvious. And the relationship between Kang Lin and Longao was obvious. On the second day, Shi had already sent the news back. It was very simple. He just had to attack. There was no need to be afraid of this Emperor God. Actually, Yi Ditian had already thought about it. If this God Emperor cultivator wanted to deal with him, he would already be a dead man. How could he still be here? It seemed like the Alliance Master was still very afraid of the Great Elder. That was why this person didn't dare to attack him. Kill. However, Yi Ditian was very angry. He could imagine that if he didn't succeed in killing Longao this time, it wouldn't be so easy to lure out Longao again. Longao attacked a mid-level Emperor God. Could it be that he can already fight against a mid-level Emperor God? Yi Ditian was certain. 10 years ago, Longao definitely couldn't defeat a mid-level Emperor God. He could only devour a low-level Emperor God. But 10 years later, it was still unknown whether the strength of the divine beasts around Longao could make any progress. However, if Longao and this divine beast dared to attack a mid-level Emperor God, didn't that mean that this divine beast had already broken through and could devour mid-level Emperor God? It had only been 10 years. It was hard to imagine. If this divine beast continued to break through after a while, wouldn't it be able to devour high-level Emperor God? Or even peak Emperor God? What a terrifying divine beast. The more it was like this, the more anxious Yi Ditian was. Whether it was for revenge or to eliminate the root of the problem, he had to kill Longao and this divine beast as soon as possible. In Dragon City, Longao also had a helpless expression on his face. After this incident, Yi Ditian definitely wouldn't allow the 11 of them to split up again. But what was the result? Very soon, the 4 mid-level divine emperors had all come out. Their intention was clear. They were waiting for him to walk into the trap. Longao sneered in his heart. Wasn't this kind of scheme a little too clumsy? Perhaps even a fool wouldn't fall for it. Boss, Yi Ditian is clearly waiting for us to fall into his trap. So what if I am? Xiao He knew very well that if Kang Han couldn't make a move, even if he and his boss worked together, they wouldn't be a match for Yi Ditian. They might even lose more than they gained, so there was no need for that. But now, Longao harumphed coldly and said, Yi Ditian thinks that we'll take the risk. Since that's the case, we'll do as he wishes. Big brother. Xiao He, I know what you mean. However, I want to kill 4 people in front of Yi Ditian. I want to see what he will do. It was easy to think about it, but Little Black knew better than anyone else how difficult it was to actually do it. But since his boss had already made his decision, he couldn't say anything. The 4 mid-level divine emperors were all gathered in the middle of the plaza. Countless people were watching from afar. Many people already knew what was going on. City Lord Long is really strong. He's actually so crazy. It's a pity that Longao is no longer the City Lord of Dragon City. I heard that he offended the current City Lord, Yi Ditian. What a pity. Longao is extremely talented. One day, he'll be able to surpass Yi Ditian. Everyone was talking about it. Most of them supported Longao. No matter what he did, there weren't many people who dared to be so crazy. They're here. Right at that moment. Suddenly, a terrifying aura came from the clouds in the 9th heaven. It rolled over and pressed down fiercely. Then, Longao and Xiao He appeared. They looked at the 4 mid-level divine emperors and didn't hesitate at all. They walked over quickly. In the blink of an eye, they arrived. Without any hesitation, Longao immediately released the 9 heavens 10 earths killing formation and enveloped the 4 of them. From the beginning to the end, the 4 of them didn't react. They didn't expect that the other party was actually an array master, and a level 6 array master at that. They knew better than anyone else what a level 6 array master meant. A mobile level 6 array master had caught the 4 of them off guard. In the next second, Yi Detian and the others instantly appeared. They looked at Longao in front of the array and were also shocked. He said, "You're actually a level 6 array master. You can even set up a mobile array." Mobile array? Hearing Yi Detian's words, everyone around couldn't help but sigh. It was hard to imagine what a genius like Yi Detian would become if he continued to develop. "Are you scared?" "Scared? Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha." Yi Detian and the others laughed crazily when they heard Yi Detian's words. It was as if they had heard the funniest thing in the world. So what if it was a level 6 array? Yi Detian was a true godly venerable warrior. Not to mention a level 6 array, even a level 7 array might not be able to trap him. "Longao, I'm very suspicious. What exactly gave you such great courage? You want to contend against me with just a moving level 6 array? Today, I'd like to see how you'll leave this place alive. Is that so? Let's wait and see." Seeing how confident Yi Detian was, even Yi Detian couldn't help but mutter in his heart. However, after thinking about it, he thought that it was just a trick. A level 6 array set up by a godly king warrior might not even be able to fight against a mid-level godly emperor, let alone a godly venerable warrior. No matter what, Longao's strength was obvious. If Longao wasn't a godly king but a godly emperor, then a level 6 array would be an entirely different concept. Longao didn't say anything else and turned around to enter the array. "Break this array." The remaining 7 godly emperors, 1 beginner godly emperor, 2 peak godly emperors, and 4 high-level godly emperors, did not hesitate and immediately started attacking the array. Under normal circumstances, how could a level 6 array set up by a godly king warrior withstand the combined attacks of 7 godly emperors? However, in the end, the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing array managed to withstand their attacks. The 7 of them were in disbelief. Yi Detian also started to realize that something was wrong. No one dared to enter the array. He started attacking the level 6 array with all his might. Chapter 30-50. Supreme gods were existences that were above divine emperors. The strength of a supreme god was needless to say. Under Yi Detian's all-out attack, the entire 9 heavens 10 earths killing array started to shake violently. Under normal circumstances, a supreme god could break a level 6 array in a matter of minutes. But now, under Yi Detian's crazy attacks, the level 6 array started to shake, but it was still as stable as a mountain. It didn't budge at all. This time, it wasn't just Yi Detian. Everyone else was extremely shocked. Even a supreme god couldn't break it. Just thinking about it, one could imagine how heaven-defying this array was. Just like that, Yi Detian and the others didn't dare to enter the array. No one knew what tricks Longao's level 6 array had. If they were unlucky, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Yi Detian's face became darker and darker. He stared at the 9 heavens 10 earths killing array in front of him. He didn't dare to act rashly. However, he couldn't continue like this. Not to mention the others, he had already lost all his face. Right at that moment, a black shadow suddenly flew out from the array. Yi Rong was shocked. He immediately caught the black shadow. He didn't know if he didn't see it, but when he saw it, he was shocked. Corpses. 4 mid-level divine emperors had been trapped by the array. Now, one of them had already died. There was no doubt that the level 6 array was enough to kill a mid-level divine emperor. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 more black shadows flew out. They were also corpses. Just like that, the 4 mid-level divine emperors were all killed in a matter of minutes. Not a single one was left alive. What did this mean? Looking at the 4 corpses on the ground, Yi Detian's face became even darker. He was so angry that he almost died. Right at that moment, Longao walked out of the array with Xiao He. It seemed that the level 6 9 heavens 10 earths killing array was enough to kill a mid-level divine emperor. However, it was far from enough to deal with a high-level divine emperor. If he wanted to kill a high-level divine emperor, he just had to upgrade the 9 heavens 10 earths killing array again. After being attacked by Yi Detian and the others, the 9 heavens 10 earths killing array was already starting to weaken. If this continued, the array wouldn't last more than 10 minutes. This was Longao's trump card. As long as he had enough time, he would be able to kill 4 mid-level divine emperors. He made the right bet this time. He was pleasantly surprised. Although the 9 heavens 10 earths killer array had yet to be broken, according to Longao's calculations, the array could no longer be used after he returned. He would have to repair it. The 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation that took decades to set up was still unable to withstand the frenzied attacks of a godly venerable warrior. A divine emperor, even a peak divine emperor, would not be able to break his formation. Even if Yi Detian was beaten to death, he would never have thought that if he could hold on for a few minutes, his opponent's formation would be broken. It was too late to say anything now. Yi Detian, how do you feel? Everyone was shocked when they heard Longao's words. He had killed 4 Shenhuang experts and now he was asking them how they felt. This was clearly a provocation. It was a blatant provocation. Kid, you're playing with fire. Courting death. The 7 Shenhuang experts behind him attacked at the same time. Yi Detian was too arrogant. If they did not kill him, they would not be able to survive in the chaotic world. Longao sneered and disappeared without a trace. The 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation also disappeared. Although the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation was damaged, Longao was confident that he could repair it in the shortest time possible. He had witnessed the power of the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation. It could actually kill mid-level divine emperors. This was his trump card. In other words, from now on, he would not be afraid of mid-level divine emperors. After Xiao He devoured the energy of the 4 Shenhuang experts, he immediately began to refine them. According to Xiao He's estimation, if he could continue to devour the energy of a few high-level or peak divine emperors, he might be able to break through to the 6th level. The 6th level was not something a 5th level could compare to. Yi Detian wasn't surprised at all by the sudden disappearance of the figure in front of him. He had already guessed that the other party must have a spatial artifact. Otherwise, the other party wouldn't have dared to act so arrogantly with a mere level 6 formation. Humiliation. Great humiliation. Ever since he became a supreme god, he had never been humiliated like this. Yi Detian and the others immediately released their energy and began to scan the surroundings, trying to lock onto Longao's position. In the end, no one could lock onto Longao's position. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed it. Coward. Kid, aren't you very arrogant? Come out if you have the ability. Why hide? As an elder of the Domain Lords Alliance, how dare you bring 14 God Emperors to bully my boss alone? You guys are really shameless to the extreme. Speaking of shamelessness, if you guys claim to be number 2, no one would dare to claim to be number 1. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha, ha 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 ha. Hearing Xiao He's crazy laughter, Yi Detian and the others' expressions became extremely gloomy. They were truly speechless. They clearly knew that Xiao He was right beside them, but they couldn't pinpoint his location. Furthermore, they were constantly being humiliated by him. The onlookers were dumbstruck. They couldn't believe it. Someone had dared to provoke a hierarch and 14 divine emperors. Not only that, they were only a man and a beast, they were both divine kings, but they were able to kill so many of their opponents. What kind of concept was that? Everyone sighed. They were all impressed by Longao. In the entire chaotic world, only Longao would dare to do something like this. There was no one like him. Come out if you have the guts. Let's fight one-on-one. I want to see what gives you the ability to be so arrogant. Does he dare? The remaining 7 people were 2 peak Shenhuang experts, 4 high-level Shenhuang experts, and Yi Rong. Hence, Xiao He was no match for the high-level or peak Shenhuang experts. The remaining beginner Shenhuang, Yi Rong, would not dare to fight even if he was beaten to death. Yi Rong, do you dare to fight with me? Yi Rong was afraid that the other party would use him as an excuse. However, he was relieved after thinking about it. Among the remaining 7 divine emperors and 1 hierarch, he was the weakest. As long as the other party was not a fool, he would definitely challenge Yi Rong. Chapter 3051. Accept his challenge. Big brother. Yi Rong was scared out of his wits when he heard his brother's words. Even if he had 10,000 guts, he wouldn't dare to accept the challenge unless he wanted to be swallowed whole. Yi Detian said through his spiritual awareness, "I will lend you my power." Could he really do it? Yi Rong didn't have any confidence at all. However, since his brother had said so, he had no choice but to accept it. "Ha ha ha, you dare to challenge me? All right, I will accept your challenge." He forced a smile. Anyone could see that Yi Rong's face was filled with bitterness. He was simply unwilling to accept the challenge. "All right, as you wish." In the next second, Xiao Hei's huge body appeared in the sky. It was very domineering. "Come up and die." Xiao Hei's voice echoed through the sky. Yi Rong was scared out of his wits. He didn't know what his brother meant. Did his brother want him to die? "I will help you." Since things had already come to this, Yi Rong could only take a step forward and appear in front of Xiao Hei. In the sky, a man and a beast were facing each other. Both of them released a terrifying aura as they collided. Yi Rong was already at a disadvantage in terms of aura. Swallow. Xiao Hei instantly released its Swallow the Heavens divine ability and locked its aura on Yi Rong. Xiao Hei could still swallow a beginner divine emperor. Yi Rong wasn't Xiao Hei's match even in a head-on battle, let alone now. Yi Rong was already scared out of his wits. How could he resist Xiao Hei? He was going to die without a doubt. Right at this moment, Yi Detian's body suddenly disappeared. At the same time, he released the power of time. He thought that as long as he attacked, he could easily kill his opponent in one move. His opponent was only a 5th-tier beast. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't compete with him at all. As an ultimate god, killing a 5th-level divine beast was a piece of cake for him. But the result? Just as Yi Detian disappeared and didn't even appear in front of Xiao Hei disappeared into thin air. "Ha ha ha, Yi Detian, you're shameless to the extreme. You said you'd fight me one-on-one, but you want to fight me with numbers? Ha 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 ha, if you wanted to fight me, you could have said so earlier." Yi Detian instantly reappeared and looked at the mythological beast that had disappeared in front of him. While he was furious, he was also shocked. Even if the mythical beast had a bloodline contract with Longao, it seemed impossible to summon the mythical beast directly through the spatial artifact. In that case, what was going on? He could not figure it out. Even if Yi Detian was beaten to death, he still wouldn't be able to figure out what was going on. This was because Longao was different from other people. Strictly speaking, his Dantian wasn't a spatial divine tool. If it was someone else, this time alone, he had already fallen. Only Xiao Hei and Longao were telepathically connected. As long as Longao willed it, Xiao Hei could instantly enter his chaotic Dantian. This was also the reason why Xiao Hei was so confident in fighting Yi Detian and wasn't afraid of him. As for Yi Detian's shamelessness, both Xiao Hei and Longao had already guessed it. Since Yi Detian was on his guard, he would definitely miss his target. Yi Detian forcefully suppressed the boundless anger in his body. He was still trying to figure out why he had come up with such a plan in order to kill his opponent. If news of this spread, he would lose all his face. Everyone would laugh at him. However, things had already turned out this way. Even if he wanted to retreat, it wasn't very possible. "Big brother, save me." At this moment, a huge black creature suddenly appeared and tried to swallow Yi Rong. From the beginning to the end, Yi Rong didn't think that the other party would dare to appear. It was because of this that Yi Rong, who was ambushed by Xiao Hei, didn't even have the chance to escape before he was devoured by Xiao Hei. If Xiao Hei could devour Yi Rong in a head-on fight, the result of a sneak attack was obvious. "You're courting death." Yi Detian roared at the sky as he watched his own brother being swallowed by the other party. His killing intent surged out crazily. However, it was too late. Xiao Hei had just devoured Yi Rong when he disappeared. "Ah!" Longao, I'm going to tear you into pieces. Yi Detian was really angry. He started to attack crazily. One could imagine the anger of a supreme god. Under his crazy attacks, the surrounding dragon city was instantly reduced to a pile of rubble. Not only that, countless people around didn't even have time to react before they were implicated. They died under Yi Detian's crazy attacks. Those who were still alive immediately ran away in fear. In just a few minutes, the entire dragon city had been destroyed. Even so, Longao and Xiao Hei still didn't appear. It was as if they had disappeared from the world. No matter how Yi Detian attacked, it was useless. The remaining 6 godly emperors were completely dumbfounded. They didn't dare to say anything. After all, Dragon City was a city. If they destroyed it for no reason, they would become a laughingstock. However, things had already come to this. Especially at a time like this, who would dare to provoke Yi Detian? Unless they were tired of living. What should we do? F***CK, you're asking me, but who am I supposed to ask? We'd better stand here obediently and not make a sound. Otherwise, we won't even know how we died. The 6 godly emperors were talking to each other through their spiritual awareness. They were afraid that Yi Detian would be implicated. After all, Yi Detian was extremely angry now. In his crazy state, Yi Detian could do anything. After attacking crazily for dozens of minutes, Yi Detian finally stopped. He didn't care about his son's death. After all, he wasn't here. But what about his own brother? Yi Rong had been devoured by the other party right in front of his eyes. If the other party were divine emperors, it would have been fine. However, they weren't even divine emperors, let alone divine emperors. They were just 2 puny martial kings. How could he not be angry? If it was in the past, he could kill martial kings with a flick of his finger. He didn't care about martial kings at all. To him, martial kings were like ants. But now, it was the so-called ant in his eyes that had actually killed his own brother in front of him. This was something that he could not accept. Send a message back. Tell them that I need 10 peak godly emperors. 10 peak godly emperors. This wasn't a small matter. However, under these circumstances, no one dared to provoke Yi Detian. The 6 godly emperors immediately nodded and said in unison, "Yes, my lord." Chapter 3052. First Heavenly Region. Domain Lords Alliance. Shi was enraged when he heard the news from Yi Detian. Losing so many divine emperors was a huge blow to him. Shi never thought that Longao would be so difficult to deal with. He thought that killing a mere martial king would be a piece of cake. But now, not only did he not have an easy time, he was completely annihilated. Was this real? Shi didn't believe it at first. 10 peak divine emperors, Yi Detian really thinks highly of him. My lord, should we send them out? 10 peak divine emperors, no matter which heavenly region they were in, were extremely powerful. But in the Domain Lords Alliance, divine emperors didn't have a high status. However, the value of 10 peak divine emperors was no less than that of a godly venerable. If anything happened, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. The more Longao acts like this, the more we have to get rid of him. 10 divine emperors are fine. Inform Yi Detian that if he still can't kill Longao, he should think about the consequences. Yes, my lord. Shi's face was gloomy. He originally wanted to send out a godly venerable, but Yi Detian was already a godly venerable. Sending out another godly venerable would be useless. 10 peak divine emperors might be of use. Spatial divine artifact. According to the news sent back by Elder Yi, the reason why Longao was able to kill the divine emperors was that he was a level 6 array master and had a level 6 divine beast. The most important reason was that he had a spatial artifact. Even Elder Yi could not do anything about it. A spatial divine artifact was indeed a troublesome thing. Shi thought for a while and said, "Give this divine artifact to Yi Detian." Taking the divine artifact from Shi, the person was shocked. He nodded and said, "Yes, my lord." In order to kill Longao, Shi had paid a huge price. Domain Lords Alliance. In the study, Kang Hao also received the news and was very excited. He never would have thought that not only was Longao a 6th grade alchemist, but he was also a 6th grade array master. Even Yi Di couldn't break through a 6th grade array formation. What kind of concept was that? Such a talent. Good, very good. In the beginning, Kang Hao didn't think highly of Longao, but in the middle, he thought highly of Longao. This kind of talent and potential was enough to surpass his peers. Blackstone Domain. Dragon City was no longer what it used to be. It had been reduced to ruins, and even the domain chief's manor had been destroyed. In Yi Detien's eyes, the entire Dragon City was like an ant. He could destroy it if he wanted to. If Blackrock City was a pill city or a region lord city, would Yi Detien still dare to do this? After Yi Detien destroyed Dragon City, he didn't leave immediately. Instead, he and the 7 others immediately locked down the space around them. They were almost certain that Longao and the mythological beast hadn't left this place. They were just hiding in a spatial divine item. I can't lock onto it. Inside his chaotic Dantian. Boss, this battle was really cool. If I can break through to the 6th rank, I will be able to devour a mid-level divine emperor. Especially with your formation, it will be easy for us to kill a mid-level divine emperor if we join hands. Xiao Hei, I have a lot of spiritual herbs here. I won't leave for now. Let's focus on making pills and try to raise your cultivation level to the peak of the 6th grade. Then, even if we can't defeat Yi Detien, we can ignore any godly emperor. Although he could kill a mid-grade godly emperor, it would be troublesome if he faced a high-level or peak godly emperor. Longao wouldn't give up so easily. He would kill as many as he could. Besides the fact that he wanted to kill Yi Detien, the reason why Longao didn't leave was because he wanted to kill godly emperors. This would be a good thing for Sister Lin. He already knew that Yi Detien was from Shi. Brother, even if I can reach the 5th grade, I will need a lot of energy to reach the peak of the 5th grade. Xiao Hei was helpless. He realized that there was a problem that he couldn't solve. As his cultivation continued to increase, the amount of power he needed increased. This was especially true after he had broken through to level 6. Not to mention level 7, even the peak of level 6 required a huge amount of power. Let's start. Longao knew that, but he didn't say anything. No matter how much energy Xiao Hei needed, he would support him unconditionally. The stronger Xiao Hei was, the more help he could provide. If Xiao Hei could reach the peak of the 6th grade, he would be able to devour godly emperors, even peak godly emperors. As for whether he could devour a hierarch, it was still unknown. However, he would only have the chance to reach the hierarch realm after reaching the peak of the godly emperor realm. In the following time, Longao began to focus on concocting elixirs. As a 6th grade alchemist, he could concoct the best of the 6th grade elixirs. These elixirs contained a lot of energy. As for how many elixirs Xiao Hei would need for him to reach the next grade, it was unknown. Yi Detien didn't know what Longao was doing, but his son and brother had died in Longao's hands. He wanted revenge. Time flew by. 3 days later, the 10 peak godly emperors sent by Shi had all arrived. Other than Yi Detien, who was a hierarch, there were 16 godly emperors. 12 of them were peak godly emperors and 4 were high-level godly emperors. No matter where they were in the chaotic world, such a force couldn't be underestimated. This is what the Great Elder asked me to pass to you. He also said that if you don't succeed, you should think about the consequences. Yi Detien wasn't surprised at all. He knew that if he couldn't kill Longao, not to mention the Great Elder, even the Domain Lords Alliance wouldn't tolerate him. After all, losing so many godly emperors was a huge loss. The Great Elder and the Alliance Lord didn't get along well. If the Alliance Lord supported Yi Detien, Longao wouldn't be able to kill the people of the Domain Lords Alliance. At that time, even if Longao had 3 heads and 6 arms, he would still die. The Domain Lords Alliance was one of the strongest forces in the chaotic world. Their forces were spread across the entire 99 heavens. Once the Domain Lords Alliance decided to kill Yi Detien, the consequences would be obvious. However, Yi Detien knew that because of the relationship between Longao and Kang Lin, Kang Hao wouldn't kill him. He could only rely on himself to solve this matter. Chapter 3053. The god-slaying painting. Yi Detian was shocked when he saw the divine artifact in his hand. Of course, he knew what the god-slaying painting in his hand meant. The god-slaying painting was one of Shishi's most important treasures. Yi Detian didn't expect Shi to take out the god-slaying painting just to deal with Longao. If he still couldn't kill Longao, then he might as well kill himself. Longao, I'll let you know what it means to live a life worse than death. He opened the god-slaying painting. There was a loud explosion. The huge painting flew into the sky. In the blink of an eye, the god-slaying painting expanded countless times and covered the entire dragon city. It was so dark that it seemed to cover the entire sky. Inside his chaotic dantian, Longao, who was refining pills, suddenly felt something strange outside. He was very curious. He didn't know what Yi Detian was doing. Boss, did you feel it? Yes, the god-slaying painting. Xiao Hei's expression changed when he heard the words god-slaying painting. The two of them weren't unfamiliar with the god-slaying painting. It was said that the god-slaying painting was an item from the chaos. It was extremely powerful. When the god-slaying painting appeared out of nowhere, it even killed a chaotic reincarnation state expert. It was because of this that Longao and Xiao Hei remembered the god-slaying painting so clearly. However, they didn't expect that the god-slaying painting would appear in Yi Detian's hands. It seems like the god-slaying painting was brought here by Shishi. Otherwise, Yi Detian wouldn't have taken it out to deal with us. How could Longao not know the meaning of Black's words? Boss, what should we do now? Even if they were at their peak, they wouldn't be able to resist the god-slaying painting. Just thinking about it scared them. The god-slaying painting was too terrifying. Longao shook his head and sneered. When the god-slaying painting threatened the chaotic world, many experts joined forces to injure it. The god-slaying painting hasn't recovered yet, so there's no need to be afraid. I see. Boss, since the god-slaying painting has appeared, why don't we take it? If Shi or Yi Detian refined the god-slaying painting, it would be impossible to snatch it away. The only way to snatch it was to kill two people. However, the situation was different now. The two of them were almost certain that neither Shi nor Yi Detian had refined the god-slaying painting. If he had the complete god-slayer painting, he might be able to lock onto Longao's location. But now, the incomplete god-slaying painting covered all of Dragon City. It was impossible to lock onto Longao's location. Yi Detian's expression became darker and darker. If even the god-slaying painting was unable to pinpoint the other party's location, it was hard to imagine what kind of method one would have to use to pinpoint the other party's location. Just as Yi Detian was about to put away the god-slain painting, the situation suddenly changed. Longao's figure appeared in an instant and headed straight for the painting of the god-slayer. Ha ha ha. Longao, you really don't know what's good for you. Today, I'll let you know how powerful the god-slaying painting is. Yi Detian was pleasantly surprised. He was just worried that he wouldn't be able to lock onto Longao's location, but who would have thought that Longao would suddenly appear and take the initiative to rush toward the god-slaying painting? He was simply courting death. Although Yi Detian hadn't refined the god-slaying painting, he could still activate it. He also knew how powerful the god-slaying painting was. Back then, Shishi had used the god-slaying painting to kill two cultivators of the same level as him. From then on, he became famous. Yi Detian was extremely confident in the god-slaying painting. Kill. Avenge his son. Avenge Yi Rong. In an instant. Longao had already been sucked into the god-slaying painting. Even though he kept shrinking, he still looked incomparably large. Everyone was pleasantly surprised. Since Longao had already been sucked into the god-slaying painting, there was no doubt that Longao was going to die this time. However, many people couldn't understand why. Since even the god-slaying painting couldn't pinpoint the other party's location, under normal circumstances, Longao should have continued to hide in the spatial artifact and not come out. But what was the result? Not only did Longao take the initiative to appear, but he even took the initiative to be sucked into the god-slaying painting. What was the reason? They couldn't figure it out. They couldn't figure it out. Yi Detian didn't care. Although he was a little curious and didn't know what the other party was trying to do, He was extremely confident in the god-slaying painting. If even the god-slaying painting couldn't kill Longao, then he would really be speechless. Inside the god-slaying painting, there was a sea of blood all around. No matter how much it churned, Longao knew very well that this sea of blood was the blood of cultivators. The god-slaying painting had killed countless cultivators, tens of thousands of them. Luckily, it was an incomplete god-slaying painting. If it was the god-slaying painting at its peak, even if he didn't die, he probably wouldn't be able to leave the god-slaying painting. But now, the situation was completely different. From the beginning to the end, no one had been able to truly refine the god-slaying painting and obtain it. It was because the god-slaying painting was incomplete that Longao risked his life to try and see if he could subdue the god-slaying painting. 90% chance of survival. The boundless sea of blood began to attack Longao crazily. It was filled with a boundless murderous aura, like a sharp sword. Longao was shocked. He immediately held the chaos axe in his hand and began to fight back. He knew that if he wanted to subdue the god-slaying painting, he had to use his strength to suppress the god-slaying painting. Even if he was at his peak, he wouldn't be able to subdue the god-slaying painting at its peak. But now, the situation was very special. The incomplete god-slaying painting's strength wasn't even 100th or 1,000th of what it was at its peak. In this case, there was a high chance that he could subdue the god-slaying painting. To him, the god-slaying painting was like adding wings to a tiger. The chaos axe began to attack crazily, fighting against the boundless sea of blood. But gradually, Longao began to feel that he couldn't hold on any longer. The sea of blood was too terrifying. If this continued, not to mention subduing the god-slaying painting, he didn't even know if he could leave the god-slaying painting alive. What should he do? The situation was critical. It could be said that it was a matter of life and death. At the end of the day, Longao still underestimated the god-slaying painting. He thought that the incomplete god-slaying painting could only exert 1,000th of its power. It shouldn't be difficult for him to subdue it. However, he never thought that even the incomplete god-slaying painting's power couldn't be underestimated. If he was at his peak, subduing the incomplete god-slaying painting would be a piece of cake. However, he was a little dumbfounded when he encountered the current him. The situation was getting more and more dangerous. Longao couldn't hold on any longer. P.S. The 27th chapter has been delivered. Chapter 3054. He couldn't go on like this. His face turned serious. He attacked wildly with the chaos axe in his hand. However, the sea of blood was too strong. Once it entered his body, the consequences would be unimaginable. Let's go all out. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Without taking risks, there would be no opportunities. Especially under such circumstances, the slightest mistake would probably cause them to fall into eternal damnation. Longao started to open his chaotic dantian and was ready to draw the sea of blood into his dantian. Crazy. If anyone else knew about this, even Master God Diviner and the others, they would probably be scared to death. He had seen people who didn't care about their lives, but he had never seen such a reckless person. He did as he said. Under normal circumstances, if he forcefully drew the sea of blood into his dantian, there would only be one result. His dantian would explode and even his primordial spirit wouldn't be able to enter the cycle of reincarnation. The reason why Longao dared to do this was because his chaotic dantian was different from others. His dantian had merged with the Chaos Palace. According to his guess, even if he drew the sea of blood into his dantian, he wouldn't be in any danger. The sea of blood seemed to have sensed Longao's madness and started to surge in. It was like the sea pouring into a stream. It was too crazy. The god-punishing painting was incomplete, but the power of the sea of blood couldn't be underestimated. Longao gritted his teeth. He didn't know if his chaotic dantian could suppress it. In the next second, it wasn't just the sea of blood. Even the god-punishing painting followed the sea of blood into Longao's dantian. In his chaotic dantian. Boss, let me help you. No need. Longao wasn't confident about his chaotic dantian before. However, after the god-punishing painting entered his chaotic dantian, he was instantly filled with confidence. I'm in charge of my dantian. In his chaotic dantian, He was the master. Even the God-punishing painting was nothing. The God-punishing painting didn't expect to enter his chaotic dantian. It started to attack crazily, obviously trying to escape. It wasn't easy for him to draw the God-punishing painting into his dantian. How could Longao give up so easily? He sneered. You want to leave? This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. How could Longao let the God-slaying painting slip away? He had just personally witnessed the might of the God-punishing painting. Even if it was an incomplete painting, it wasn't something that he could contend with. If he could subdue the God-slaying painting and refine it, he could imagine what it would mean. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. If he could, he would have immediately started assimilating the God-slaying painting. Without the slightest hesitation, Longao immediately started suppressing the God-punishing painting. He definitely wouldn't have been able to do it alone. However, with the help of his chaotic energy center, he was able to successfully suppress the God-punishing painting in just a few minutes. Outside, Yi Detian and the others were completely dumbfounded when they saw the God-slain painting disappear without a trace. What was going on? Why did the God-slaying painting disappear all of a sudden? Just now, everyone saw with their own eyes that Longao was enveloped by the God-punishment painting. If there was no accident, even if Longao had the ability to reach the heavens, he would not be able to escape from the God-punishment painting. The only result was that he would die in the God-punishment painting. Yi Detian was extremely confident in the Grand Elder's God-slaying painting. But now, the God-slaying painting disappeared right under his nose. If someone said that this had nothing to do with Longao, he wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. Because of this, Yi Detian really couldn't figure out how Longao did it. If he lost the God-slaying painting or something else happened, then not only would he lose face, he wouldn't be able to explain himself to the Great Elder. One had to know that the God-slaying painting was one of Shu's most precious treasures. It would be a lie if he said that he wasn't anxious. What was going on? Longao couldn't care less. Shu didn't know how to appreciate such a treasure. If Shu and Yi Detian knew that the God-slaying painting could kill a chaotic reincarnation realm cultivator, they wouldn't have used it so easily. They would have refined it wholeheartedly. Actually, Longao knew very well that Shu must have refined the God-slaying painting before. It was just that he didn't succeed. If the God-slaying painting could be refined so easily, it wouldn't be called the God-slaying painting. With the help of his chaotic dantian, Longao had successfully suppressed the God-slaying painting. His next task was to think of a way to refine the God-slaying painting. Otherwise, even if he obtained the God-slaying painting, it would be useless. In the end, he would end up like Yi Detian, someone else's boss. Hurry up and refine it. Xiao He was overjoyed when he saw that his boss had actually managed to suppress the God-slaying painting. Others might not know the true power of the God-slaying painting, but how could he not know? If his boss could refine the God-slaying painting, it would mean a lot. Xiao He nodded. Even Longao couldn't wait to refine the God-slaying painting, let alone Xiao He. He didn't know if he could really refine it because even he wasn't completely confident. The God-slaying painting was a legendary treasure. Longao started to refine it wholeheartedly, ignoring everything that was happening outside. As long as he was in his chaotic dantian, even Yi Detian wouldn't be able to lock onto his position. Longao found it funny. Yi Detian had given him a legendary treasure out of nowhere. It seemed like his luck wasn't ordinary. Right now, only Yi Detian and the others were left in Dragon City. Almost everyone else had been caught in the crossfire. Many people were angry, but they didn't dare to say anything. After all, casually destroying a city was a taboo for cultivators. One supreme god and dozens of godly emperors. With such strength, no one dared to offend them. However, news of Longao fighting against so many strong cultivators had already spread throughout the Blackstone Heavenly region. Everyone admired Longao's courage. If it was anyone else, they probably wouldn't have dared to fight against so many strong cultivators. They probably would have turned around and fled. Yi Detian stood there in a daze as he looked at the ruins around him. He suppressed his anxiety and anger. The more it was like this, the more he had to stay calm. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to solve anything. The God-punishing scroll must have been taken away by Longao. Otherwise, how could the God-punishing scroll disappear for no reason? It was simply nonsense. Longao, I know you're still here. Come out and we can talk. How about it? In the end, Yi Detian chose to compromise. Author's note, Chapter 28, delivered. Thank you, brothers, for your votes and tips. Little Jew is very grateful. Chapter 30:55. There was no response. Longao was now wholeheartedly focused on refining the god-slaying painting. He couldn't be bothered with the other party. Ignoring him? If it were any other divine king, he would be able to crush them with a single finger. But Longao was the only one. He couldn't do anything about it. No one is allowed to reveal that the god-slaying painting is missing. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Yes, sir. If this matter were to reach Shish's ears, it was obvious what would happen. After this matter, the sun rose and set in the west. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. In his chaotic Dantian. Failed again. Looking at the god-slaying painting in front of him, Longao had a helpless expression because neither he nor Xiao He seemed to be able to truly refine the god-slaying painting. It was simply nonsense. Boss, what's going on? He had a helpless expression. The god-slaying painting was right in front of him, but he couldn't really refine it. It was like a burly man who had been hungry for 3 days and 3 nights suddenly seeing a pile of steamed buns, but he couldn't eat them. Whether it was Xiao He or Longao, they still didn't know the reason. It would be a lie to say that they weren't anxious. Shaking his head, Longao said helplessly, "The god-slaying painting is one of the top divine artifacts. It has already developed its own consciousness, so it won't be easy for us to refine it." Longao knew very well that it wasn't just him. No matter who it was, they wouldn't be able to refine the god-slaying painting. The power of the god-slaying painting was obvious. Are we going to give up just like that? Give up? How was that possible? There was no need to think about the power of the god-slaying painting. How could Longao give up so easily? If he could refine the god-slaying painting and restore it, it would be like adding wings to a tiger for him. No matter what, I have to refine the god-slaying painting. Longao's eyes lit up. He was determined to refine the god-slaying painting no matter what. Zhongxian did not continue refining it. Longao naturally knew that things weren't that simple. If he wanted to refine the god-punishing painting, he had to think of other methods. If he tried to refine it by force, he wouldn't be able to refine it even if he exhausted himself. Sensing that there was no aura outside, Longao left. As far as the eye could see, there were ruins everywhere. You're finally out. For 3 whole months, Yi Detian had almost died from anxiety. Does it have anything to do with you whether I come out or not? Yi Detian was very wary of Longao's spatial artifact. While he was wary, he was also very greedy. He wanted nothing more than to snatch it away from Longao. Even he himself was unable to lock onto the spatial artifact of the other party. Just thinking about it, one could imagine just how powerful this spatial artifact was. If he could obtain this spatial divine artifact, it would simply be like adding wings to a tiger. Longao relied on this spatial artifact. Just based on Yi Detian's strength alone, any random godly emperor would be able to kill him easily, let alone Yi Detian himself. There was no doubt about it. If it was in the past, Yi Detian would have already attacked if Yi Detian dared to do this. But now, the situation was completely different. Longao, is the god-punishing painting in your hands? Actually, there was no need to ask. Yi Detian already knew. If there were no surprises, the god-punishing painting was definitely in Longao's hands. He couldn't figure it out. Why wasn't Longao killed by the god-punishing painting? Why was he even able to take it away? If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that a godly king could enter the god-punishing painting and survive. The god-punishing painting suddenly appeared in Longao's right hand. He laughed coldly as he looked at Yi Detian and the others. As expected. Looking at the sudden appearance of the god-punishing painting in Longao's hands, Yi Detian took in a deep breath. Suppressing the rage in his heart, he said calmly, "State your conditions." "I don't know what you mean." Asking the obvious. Longao had already guessed what the other party was trying to say. He wanted more of the god-punishing painting. Was that even possible? Yi Detian naturally knew that Longao was doing this on purpose. However, he still suppressed the rage in his heart. Clenching his fists tightly, he said coldly, "Longao, as long as you return the god-punishing painting to me, you can state any conditions you want." Yi Detian didn't dare to act recklessly. He was afraid that the other party would enter the spatial artifact once more. If that happened, it would be even harder for him to get the god-punishing painting back. He had to calm the other party down first. No matter what, he had to get the god-punishing painting back first. Yi Detian didn't dare to imagine how he would answer to the first elder if he really couldn't get the god-punishing painting back. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Suddenly, Xiao Hei burst out into maniacal laughter. Appearing beside Longao, Xiao Hei glared at the other party and said mockingly, "Yi Detian, if you want the god-punishing painting back, sure. However, we only have one condition. As long as you agree to it, we will return the god-punishing painting to you immediately. How about that?" Longao didn't say anything. All he did was look at Xiao Hei. "Speak." Yi Detian gritted his teeth. He couldn't wait to tear the two of them apart. However, his rationality won out over his impulsiveness. He knew that if he were to act rashly, there would only be one outcome. He would never be able to get the god-punishing painting back. For the sake of the god-punishing painting, he couldn't act recklessly. "As long as you give us your primordial spirit and submit to us, we will return the god-punishing painting to you. How about that?" Xiao Hei laughed coldly. "You want to fight with me? You're still far from it." Boundless anger. If Yi Detian still couldn't tell that they were toying with him, then his brain must have been flooded with water. Even so, he suppressed the anger in his heart and said, "I can let you leave temporarily as long as you hand over the god-punishing painting." Shameless. Yi Detian had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen someone as shameless as this. Longao laughed coldly and put the god-punishing painting away. He said, "Yi Detian, I can tell you right now that no matter what conditions you give me, I will not return the god-punishing painting to you. Let me give you a piece of advice. If you continue to be unjust, you will be doomed to destruction." Yi Detian was afraid that Xiao Hei would come here. As expected, he glared at the man and the beast in front of him. He couldn't suppress his killing intent any longer. "You want to attack?" Xiao Hei wasn't afraid at all. The more Xiao Hei acted like this, the angrier Yi Detian became. The more he didn't dare to attack. The god-punishing painting was still in the hands of Xiao Hei. If he attacked recklessly, he might not be able to get the god-punishing painting back. How would he answer to the Great Elder then? P.S. Chapter 29 has been delivered. The last chapter will be updated tomorrow morning. Good night, everyone. Chapter 3056. Longao, what do you want? Yi Detian asked coldly as he suppressed the anger in his heart. Xiao Hei already said it. "You're the one who doesn't want to. You're courting death." Before Yi Detian could attack, Longao and Xiao Hei had already disappeared. "Ah, Longao, I'm going to kill you." No matter how angry Yi Detian was, he couldn't do anything. He couldn't lock onto Longao's location. He thought that the god-slaying painting could kill Longao. But what happened? Before the god-punishing painting could kill Longao, the god-punishing painting was taken away by Longao. Until now, he still couldn't figure out what was going on. There was no such thing as an impenetrable wall. In the first heavenly region, Shishua, who had just received the news, froze in place. If he didn't believe that Yi Detian wouldn't steal his divine artifact, he might have thought that Yi Detian was doing this on purpose to get his hands on the god-slaying painting. Longao stole the god-slaying painting? Was this real? Boundless rage instantly filled his entire body. Shishua stood up, took a step forward, and instantly disappeared without a trace. In the Blackstone region, Dragon City, Yi Detian and the others didn't dare to be careless. Although Longao could hide in his spatial divine artifact and avoid being locked onto by their aura, They were certain that Longao couldn't leave this place. It was a blessing in disguise. Just as Yi Detian was about to continue locking onto Longao's position, a figure descended from the sky. It was none other than Shi Shu, who had rushed over from the first sky region. Grand Elder, why are you here? Yi Detian and the others were given a fright and immediately bowed respectfully to Shi Shu. Yi Detian, in particular, seemed to have guessed what was going on. He sighed inwardly, thinking that something bad was about to happen. Yi Detian snorted coldly. Shi Shu looked at Yi Detian coldly and said, "You can't do anything right. You can't kill Longao even with the god-slaying painting. If you hadn't followed me for so many years, I would have killed you right now." Yi Detian was shocked. Yi Detian naturally knew how vicious Shi Shu was. "Great Elder, I don't know what's going on either. The God-Slayer painting shouldn't have been able to lock onto Longao's position, but for some reason, not only did Longao appear on his own, he even took the initiative to move toward the God-Slayer painting. Until now, Yi Detian couldn't understand the reason behind this. What was going on? Even if he was beaten to death, he would not believe that there was nothing fishy going on. Initiative? That's right. At that time, I didn't pay much attention to it. But after that, the painting of the God-Slayer suddenly disappeared and was forcefully taken away by Longao. So that was the case. The reason why Shi didn't blame Yi Detian was because he felt that something was amiss. Unless Yi Detian had purposely let him go, how could Longao have taken away the God-slaying painting? This was a mystery. Shi wasn't worried about Longao taking away the God-slaying painting. If Longao was able to refine the God-slaying painting, things would become troublesome. Unable to lock onto the opponent's position? Speaking of this, Yi Detian felt a sense of helplessness. No matter what he did, he couldn't lock onto the opponent's position. Great Elder, Longao has a very heaven-defying spatial artifact. No matter how hard we try, we can't sense his existence, let alone lock onto his position. It was a very helpless situation. Shi nodded. He didn't doubt Yi Detian's words at all. After all, Longao had killed Yi Detian's son and younger brother. It could be said that the two of them were like fire and water. If one of them didn't die, the other would die. Yi Detian didn't need to lie to him. If that was really the case, then Longao's spatial divine tool was really powerful. Great Elder, what should we do now? Before this, Yi Detian was definitely the one making the decisions. But now that Shi was here, Shi was the one making the decisions. Let me try. Yi Detian was also very nervous. If even the Great Elder couldn't lock onto the opponent's position, then without a doubt, Longao's spatial artifact was too heaven-defying. After all, Shi's strength was obvious. Yi Detian couldn't compare to Shi at all. Not only Yi Detian, but everyone else was also waiting anxiously. They all hoped that the Great Elder could lock onto the opponent's position. That way, they would be able to kill the opponent and regain some face. Even so, everyone still did not place Longao in their sights. A mere godly king had only relied on a level 6 array to kill a mid-level godly emperor. If they fought head-on, any high-level godly emperor or peak godly emperor would be able to kill him easily. If Longao was really that powerful, he wouldn't be hiding in the spatial artifact and not coming out. Shi released his powerful aura and it started to cover the entire Dragon City. One had to admit that Shi's strength was far above Yi Detian and the others. Time passed bit by bit. After about 10 minutes, Shi's face became darker and darker. He immediately retracted his aura and said in surprise, "Even I can't lock onto the opponent's position. This spatial artifact is really powerful." At the same time, Shi was also very happy that Longao had this spatial artifact. If he could obtain this spatial artifact, he would be like a tiger that had grown wings. However, before he could obtain this spatial artifact, he had to lock onto the opponent's position. Otherwise, everything else would be useless. Even the Great Elder couldn't lock onto the opponent's position. Hearing the Great Elder's words, everyone was shocked. Of course, they knew how strong the Great Elder was. It was unbelievable that even the Great Elder couldn't lock onto the opponent's position. No wonder the opponent was so arrogant. It turned out that he had something to rely on. If even the Great Elder couldn't lock onto the opponent's position, then this matter would be very troublesome. Who else could lock onto the opponent's position? Yi Detian didn't dare to ask too much. As for the others, they didn't dare to ask either. Although we can't lock onto the opponent's position, he definitely can't leave here. This is good news. Let me think about how to deal with him. Inside his chaotic dantian, Longao could obviously sense that someone outside was locking onto his position. It wasn't Yi Detian and the others at all. This person's aura was far stronger than Yi Detian and the others. Just who was it? Longao was sure that this person was definitely a famous figure in the Domain Lord Alliance. It couldn't be Shisai who had come personally. It felt a bit ridiculous. How could Shisai come personally to deal with him? Longao didn't think that Shisai would value him so much that he would really come from the Domain Lord Alliance of the First Upper Heaven region. P.S. All 30 chapters have been delivered. Thank you, brothers, for your tips and tickets. I got a shock this morning. Little 9 will continue to explode today. At least 5 more chapters. Thank you, brothers, for your support. Chapter 3057. He felt helpless. Longao's spatial artifact was truly heaven-defying. It wasn't easy to lock onto him. Shisai had come in secret and no one knew about it. Shisai's intention was simple. If Kang Hao knew about this, he would definitely take action. He was afraid of Kang Hao. If Shisai wasn't afraid of Kang Hao, he would have seized power. Once Kang Hao intervened, things would become even more troublesome. However, Shisai didn't expect Kang Han to be here. He was just hiding in the dark. So, Kang Han received the news as soon as Shisai arrived. He was shocked and immediately sent the news back to the Domain Lords Alliance. Kang Han didn't expect Shisai to come in person. The First Heavenly Region. In the study of the Domain Lords Alliance. Kang Hao's face darkened when he received the news. He didn't expect Shisai to be so shameless as to personally go to the Blackstone region to deal with Longao. Others might not know Shisai's strength, but he knew. Kang Hao took a step forward and left quickly. The Blackstone region. 3 days later, in the morning, just as Shi was thinking of various ways to lock onto Longao's position, Kang Hao suddenly arrived with Kang Han. Greetings, Alliance Leader. No matter who Yi Detian and the others were, they had to bow respectfully when they saw Kang Hao. There was no doubt that the Alliance Leader had the highest status in the Domain Lords Alliance. Alliance Leader, may I know why you're here? He asked the obvious. Shisai naturally knew why the two of them had come here, and his heart was filled with rage. He could not understand how Kang Hao had found out about his secret visit this time, and had even completely sealed off the news of his arrival. It seemed that he had underestimated Kang Hao. Shisai, is it worth it to deal with Longao? Alliance Leader, this person killed many of our Domain Lords Alliance's God Emperors. If we let him go so easily, what will happen to our Domain Lords Alliance's face? He was furious. This matter ends here. Kang Hao didn't waste any time and gave the order. Yi Detian and the others looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Retreat. Or should I continue? He was truly unwilling to give up just like that. Not only did he fail to avenge his son and younger brother, but he also lost the God Punisher painting and lost so many people. Shi's face instantly turned gloomy, his eyes reflecting 2 rays of light. Alliance Leader, please give me a reason. After getting to know Kang Hao once again, Shi did not dare to act blindly without thinking. If it were anyone else, they would have started to seize power long ago. In the end. This was because Shisai did not have any confidence. Otherwise, Shisai would have taken action immediately. In addition to forcefully seizing power, it was more important to avenge his son. Both of them had their own ulterior motives, but they were also wary of each other. Neither of them dared to take the initiative to attack. The reason is very simple. Since you can't kill Longao immediately, then if this continues, there will only be one result, and that is, more and more people will be killed. As the leader of the Domain Lords Alliance, I have to consider the consequences of the alliance. You can ignore their lives, but I can't. Is this reason enough? Very enough. If it was something else, Shisai might have retreated. After all, it would not benefit him to fall out with the other party at this time. After all, he had made a mistake. Until now, he had not expected Longao to be so troublesome. If he had known this would happen, he should have come personally. If that was the case, he should have been able to kill Lin Fan directly. However, Shisai would definitely not give up on this matter. He would not give up on the God Punisher painting alone. Alliance leader, forgive me for not giving up. I swear that I will not give up until I kill this person. Shisai, you dare to go against the Alliance leader's order. Do you know what this means? Kang Han was completely enraged. He knew that he could not be so reckless, but seeing how arrogant Shisai was, he could not help but be enraged. Kang Hao shook his head and said coldly, "Seems like you are challenging the Alliance's bottom line." Kang Hao directly mentioned the entire Alliance. Everyone knew what this meant. Once the two of them fell out, Kang Hao would have the upper hand. At that time, Shisai would be in a passive position. In that case, the final outcome would be obvious. How could Shisai not know the consequences? Let's go. Seeing that the Great Elder had chosen to compromise, Yi Detian and the others were shocked. However, after thinking about it, they understood. After all, the Alliance leader was still the leader. Unless the Great Elder's strength was enough to suppress the Alliance leader would always have the upper hand. Leaving as soon as he said so, Shisai and the others quickly left. They really left? Kang Hao sneered in his heart. Of course, he knew that Shisai would not choose to leave so easily. However, this was already good enough. This was the only thing he could do for Longao. Big brother, what should we do now? Kang Han knew that his big brother was not willing to fight with Shisai at this time. However, this alone would not be able to help Longao. As long as the two of them left, Shisai would come out again. There was nothing they could do. Thank you, both of you. I will leave first. At this moment, Longao's spiritual sense transmission suddenly rang in the minds of Kang Hao and Kang Han. The two of them were very surprised. Of course, they knew that Longao had a spatial artifact in his hands, but they didn't expect that this spatial artifact was so heaven-defying. Not to mention Shi, even they couldn't lock onto the other party's position. How did Longao do it? In the next second, Longao's silhouette suddenly appeared. He didn't even think before he flew off into the distance. Kang Hao and Kang Han's appearance had successfully delayed Yi Detian and the others. If they didn't leave now, when would they be able to? Looking at the figure that had already disappeared into the distance, Kang Hao and Kang Han sighed. They had seen arrogant people before, but they had never seen someone so arrogant. Not only did he provoke Yi Detian and kill Yi Mo and Yi Rong, he even dared to provoke Shisai. It was as if this had never happened before. Seeing Shisai suffer, the two of them felt extremely satisfied. In the distance. Of course, Shisai saw Longao running into the distance. His face was very gloomy as he said, "Arrange for people to secretly guard the teleportation array. I want to know where Longao went." Kang Hao, the more you want to protect this person, the more I want to kill him. Let's wait and see. Of course, Yi Detian knew the severity of the situation. If Longao managed to escape like this, whether it was taking revenge or retrieving the god-slaying painting, neither would be possible in the near future. Thus, he had to lock onto Longao's location. P.S. Chapter 31, delivered. Chapter 3058. Since things had already come to this, Longao did not plan to stay any longer. Shi had already interfered in this matter. Even if he stayed, he would not get any benefits. 10 years was not too late for a gentleman to take revenge. His strength was still too low. If he could reach the Divine Emperor realm or the Hierarch realm, why would he do this? So, the most important thing now was to think of all ways to increase his strength as soon as possible. The Chaos realm had 99 heavenly domains. After thinking about it, Longao finally decided on the Thunder heavenly domain. Firstly, the Thunder heavenly domain was a heavenly domain. For him, it was a very good place to cultivate. Secondly, the Thunder heavenly domain lord was Jiyu Hao. For this person, Longao naturally would not let him go so easily. The teleportation formation of the Black Stone Heavenly Domain was already controlled by Yi Detian and the others. It was very dangerous to use the teleportation formation to leave. Longao would not take the risk. The most important reason was that he did not want to reveal his whereabouts. Crossing the Heavenly Domain. Even a godly venerable rank warrior would not casually cross such a line. What Longao wanted was this kind of life and death experience. Because only in this kind of life and death experience could he quickly increase his strength. This was without a doubt. Crossing from the middle heavenly domain to the middle heavenly domain was much easier than crossing from the lower heavenly domain. Not to mention crossing from the lower heavenly domain to the upper heavenly domain, one could imagine how dangerous it would be. Even so, Longao still did not retreat. If he could cross from the Blackstone Heavenly Domain to the Thunder Heavenly Domain, his cultivation would probably smoothly break through from the mid-Divine King Realm to the peak Divine King Realm. Even if Yi Detian and Shi were beaten to death, they would never have thought that Longao did not go to the teleportation formation at all. Instead, he directly crossed the Heavenly Domain. How many people in the entire Chaos Realm would dare to do such a crazy thing? It was a barren land. There were strange currents flowing everywhere. The slightest touch would cause one to be severely injured even if they did not die. No wonder no one was willing to cross the Heavenly Domain. It was a bit dangerous. If one was not careful, they would fall into eternal damnation. Boss, it will take us a few years to cross from the Blackstone Heavenly Domain to the Thunder Heavenly Domain. Isn't this a bit too much? What do you mean? Boss, why don't we go to the nearest lower heavenly domain, and then take the teleportation formation to the Thunder Heavenly Domain? He was very curious. Longao could clearly sense that Xiao He wanted to say something but stopped. There was a hidden meaning in its words. However, Little Black didn't want to say more, and he didn't want to continue asking. He nodded. His intuition told him that since Blackie wasn't willing to cross the Heaven Domain, then he would just have to follow him. There were 3 heavenly domains closest to the Blackstone Heavenly Domain, and Longao finally chose the Heavenly Fire Heavenly Domain. 1 year later, Longao finally arrived at the Heavenly Fire Heavenly Domain. His entire body was covered in wounds. He had thought that he would be able to make a breakthrough in his cultivation, but in the end, other than reinforcing his cultivation once more, he was unable to make a breakthrough to the God King realm at all. He felt helpless. As for the reason, Longao could not explain it clearly. There was no need to dwell on this matter. The Heavenly Fire region was a lower region, and there was only one teleportation array in the Heavenly Fire City. Longao had a lot of crystal stones on him. Even if he went to the Thunder Heavenly Domain, it was more than enough. The Heavenly Fire City was where the Domain Lord's Manor of the Heavenly Fire Heavenly Domain was located. It was also the city where the teleportation array was located. Longao didn't even need to disguise himself. He could enter the Heavenly Fire City as long as he hid his aura. He might be famous in the Blackstone Heavenly Domain, but in the Heavenly Fire City, or even the entire Heavenly Fire Heavenly Domain, no one knew him. However, it didn't mean that they didn't know him. What happened in the Blackstone Heavenly Domain had completely shaken the entire chaotic realm. Longao had just stepped into the Heavenly Fire City. Have you heard? An earth-shattering thing happened in the Blackstone Heavenly Domain. It has completely shaken the chaotic realm. What is it? Tell us quickly. I heard that the son and younger brother of Elder Yi Detian of the Domain Lord Alliance were killed. This person even fought against Yi Detian and finally left safely. Most importantly, according to the rumors, this person is only a god king. However, he has a level 5 divine beast with him. It seems to be very powerful. Nonsense. A god king and a level 5 divine beast can fight against a hierarch and several divine emperors. What a joke. The news of Shi's arrival in the Blackstone Heavenly Domain had been completely sealed off. Only a few people knew about it. It's true. This person is really a madman. Not only did he leave safely, he even killed several divine emperors of the Domain Lord Alliance. His name has completely shaken the chaotic realm. Everyone in the surroundings sighed endlessly because Yi Detian was extremely famous in the Chaos Dimension. As a godly exalt expert and an elder of the Domain Lord's Alliance, Both his status and strength were obvious. However, someone had actually dared to provoke him, and that person was only a mere godly king. It was truly unbelievable. Longao smiled helplessly in his heart as he listened to the discussions about him all over the place. Some things were indeed becoming more and more ridiculous the more they spread. If it was not for the sudden arrival of Kang Hao and Kang Han, which restrained Shi and the rest, it would not have been an easy task for him to successfully leave. This person dares to kill the Domain Lord Alliance's divine emperors. He's done for. No matter where he goes, he's bound to die after offending the Domain Lord Alliance. The Domain Lord Alliance was one of the strongest forces in the chaotic realm. Their forces were spread throughout the 99 heavenly domains in the chaotic realm. No one dared to provoke the Domain Lord Alliance, let alone kill their divine emperors. One could imagine the consequences of offending the Domain Lord Alliance. It's strange. This person killed several divine emperors, but the Domain Lord Alliance didn't issue an order to hunt him down. As for the reason, no one knows. Killing several divine emperors of the Domain Lord Alliance and not being hunted down by the Domain Lord Alliance. What does that mean? Could it be that this person has a powerful backer? Even if that's the case, it shouldn't be. The Domain Lord Alliance was one of the strongest forces in the chaotic realm. Even super forces like the Devil Palace and the Pill Hall didn't dare to provoke them casually. Because of that, no one could figure out where this person came from. How could he be so powerful that even the Domain Lord Alliance was afraid of him and didn't dare to hunt him down? No matter what, he had killed several divine emperors consecutively. This was simply a slap to the Domain Lord Alliance's face. If they didn't kill this person, where would the Domain Lord Alliance's face go? They really couldn't figure out what was going on with the Domain Lord Alliance. Why would they swallow this insult? It was really strange. No one knew the specific reason. No matter what, this person dared to fight against Yi Detian and the others with the strength of a divine king. Author's note, Chapter 32 delivered. Brothers, if you have a vote, please vote for Longao. Little 9 thanks. Chapter 3059. He had no intention of staying in the Heavenly Fire heavenly region. This time, he came to the Heavenly Fire City to take the teleportation formation and leave for other heavenly regions. It would take about 5 teleportations to reach the Heavenly Thunder heavenly region. But the result? Longao was about to spend some crystal stones to take the teleportation formation to leave. The situation suddenly changed. Shuang. Boss, what's wrong? Xiao Hei, who was beside Longao, asked curiously when he saw the expression on his boss's face. He did not know what had happened. Xiao Hei, I sensed Shuang's aura. Longao was very curious. With Shuang's strength, even if she had not recovered to her peak, he would not be able to sense it. He knew very well that Shuang must be in the Heavenly Fire City and had an accident. Nothing must happen to Shuang. Longao, who was about to leave, immediately turned around and left with Xiao Hei after sensing Shuang's aura. Nothing was more important than Shuang's safety. Boss, how can you sense Shuang's aura? Unless she deliberately released her aura. But in that case, not only you, I'm afraid everyone can sense Shuang's aura. How could Longao not know what Xiao Hei meant? He did not know what was going on. Anyway, he had a bad feeling in his heart. I don't know yet, but I can almost guarantee that Shuang must be here. I have to find her in the shortest time possible. Longao was very worried. He did not know what danger Shuang had encountered. Gradually, Longao began to understand what was going on. If there was no accident, he should have merged with part of Shuang's primordial spirit and blood, so he could sense that Shuang was in danger. But Shuang's strength was there. Still, even if she had not reached her peak strength, other warriors could not casually compete with her. The more he thought about it, the more anxious he became. The more he thought about it, the more worried he became. Nothing must happen to Shuang. Xiao Hei also knew the seriousness of the matter and immediately said, Boss, since this is the case, let's not delay and find Shuang's trace immediately. Xiao Hei nodded. Longao did not speak again. Instead, he focused on sensing to see if he could locate Shuang's location. But the result? It was impossible to locate her. In this way, finding Shuang's location in Heavenly Fire City was like looking for a needle in the sea. Forget it. Longao directly arrived in the sky above Skyflame City. His aura surged out. Now that he had broken through to the intermediate God King realm, his aura could cover the entire Skyflame City. However, there had never been a God King martial artist who dared to do such a thing. Although the Domain Lord of Skyflame City was a peak Divine King, the backer of Skyflame City was the Domain Lord's Alliance. Unless someone was blind, no one would dare to provoke the Domain Lord's Alliance unless they were tired of living. Look, that's a God King. What is he trying to do? This is Skyfire City. Trouble is coming. Just as Longao released his aura to cover the entire Heavenfire City. At this moment, several figures rushed out of the Domain Chief's mansion and came to Longao and Blackie in an instant. Cupping his fists at Longao and Blackie, the Domain Lord of Heavenly Fire Territory, Lai Hua, said solemnly, "Why are you doing this?" Ever since he became the City Lord of Skyfire City, such a thing had never happened before. If it wasn't for the fact that the other party was a mid-level Divine King and had a Divine Beast at the peak of the 5th level, Lai Hua would have taken action long ago. Why would he wait until now? It was simply nonsense. Get lost. Longao might be calm if it was a normal situation. However, the situation was obviously different now. He did not know what was going on with Shuang. The longer the delay, the more unfavorable it would be for Shuang. Hence, Longao directly told them to get lost. He was completely dumbfounded. Even if the other party was a God King and had a level 5 Divine Beast, wasn't he too arrogant? He actually dared to tell them to get lost. This was his territory and not the other party's territory. How could he not be angry? Lai Hua was endlessly angry, but he still suppressed the murderous intent in his heart. He could clearly sense that the other party had only released his aura to cover the entire Skyflame City and had not taken action. Was he looking for something? His heart skipped a beat. Lai Hua immediately said, "If you are looking for something, why don't you tell me? I am the Domain Lord of Skyfire Territory and also the City Lord of Skyflame City, Lai Hua." Lai Hua was both the Domain Lord of Skyfire Territory and the City Lord of Skyflame City. I'll say it again. Get lost. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Longao was very angry. He was already anxious to the extreme. The other party kept talking nonsense again and again. If they delayed his search for Shuang, he would slaughter the entire Skyflame City. Who are you? How dare you talk to the Domain Lord like that? You don't know life from death. Get out of Skyflame City immediately. Otherwise, before the two of them could finish their words, Blackie's face instantly turned cold and said angrily, "Who are you? How dare you scold the boss? I will swallow you all today." Xiao Hei was extremely berserk, especially when he couldn't bear to see anyone insult his boss. His body immediately began to expand, and in just a few seconds, his body had already expanded into a colossus. Raging Fire and the others were shocked when they saw the Divine Beast in front of them. "Sir." "Humph." Blackie snorted heavily. He did not give Lai Hua and the others a chance to speak. Of course, he knew that the boss was anxious. Since the other party was courting death, he would not be polite and began to devour them. Currently, Xiao Hei had reached the pinnacle of level 5 and was infinitely close to level 6. It was a piece of cake for him to devour the God Kings. In just a few minutes, all the God Kings had been devoured. Not a single one was left. The entire Skyflame City was in an uproar. The other party was too powerful. He killed the Domain Lord and the others without saying anything. This was a provocation to the Domain Lord Alliance. Who was this person? Did he have a grudge with the Domain Lord's mansion? No one dared to move recklessly in fright because no one knew who this person was and whether they would be caught up in the mess. Fortunately, this person did not do anything else after killing all the God Kings. Just like that, everyone fell silent. Longao did not care. He released his aura and began to search frantically. He did not know why, but he felt that Shuang was in danger. No matter what happened, he had to lock onto Shuang's position in the shortest time possible. Time was of the essence. Longao's aura swept through Skyflame City crazily. No one in Skyflame City dared to stand out and say a word. They were angry but did not dare to say anything. P.S. Chapter 33 has been delivered. I was going to continue with 2 more chapters, but Little 9 could not write anymore. My fingers are cramping from writing. I am going to take a break first. The remaining 2 chapters will be moved to tomorrow. Including the 5 chapters tomorrow, I will update 7 chapters. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.